ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Donna Just Being Real. My channel is about dating, love, relationships, and toxic relationship advice channel. So we're going to get into this one here. This is a trial that happened in 2022. And I wanted to bring it up in 2023. So we're going to be watching some clips on it. And let me just give you a little bit of a little bit about what this trial is all about. About this Dusty Lowlife Nathaniel Rowland trial. Prosecution and defense opening statement. So we're going to first show that one. But let me just tell you a little bit about this one. All right. This sociopathic Dusty Nathaniel Rowland was found guilty of posing as a Uber driver and killed Samantha Josephson, and she's a college student at the University of South Carolina, got into a vehicle that she believed was her Uber in the early mornings of March 29th, 2019. She was found dead in a Clarendon County the next day, stabbed more than 30 times. Yep. So this monster right here, he killed her. Yeah, he killed her. All right, and stabbed over 30 times. So we're going to get into this one because the trial, came up and stuff, and was found guilty on it was 2021 where he was found guilty. Hope I got it right, but just check the description. I'll make sure it's in the description, okay? Because I'm recording this one. Now, this trial this is really sad. This woman's outside. She was waiting for her Uber, and she thought that the Uber that came to pick her up was her Uber, but no. This monster right here, see right here? He acted like he was an Uber. So basically he was driving around just looking for a victim. That kind of thing. All right, so we're going to watch this trial. And I thought it was very interesting. And I also want to say, ladies and gentlemen, be careful getting into these Ubers because you just never know. Because I've heard of so many horror stories about people, what they experienced when they went through on an Uber. It really is sad. And this monster, this sicko, trifling piece of crap. All right, so we're going to watch some of these trial clips. And what you do is you hit the like button, share it all to your social media, and share your thoughts and opinions in the comment section. Let me know, what do you think? And if you want to get a hold of me, feel free to look in my description and you will find my email address if you have any views, requests, or needing coaching on dating, love, relationships. And also feel free to check out some of my past commentary. It's no problem. Check it out. And also check out my animation too if you like. And let me know. This is something else. All right, so we're going to get into this one. And I'm going to actually have it on a little bit of a faster speed because I'm going to be doing some recaps this year of old trials, right? And why am I showing these things? Because I show trials and I show crimes and stuff as a teaching tool to help people to date smart, not thirsty, and also be aware of there's a lot of narcissists, sociopaths, and psychopaths out here that are very dangerous, and you have to be alert and be careful. And anybody who's out there who's parents, who's uncles, who's aunts, mentors, whatever, teach these children so they can be careful because there's a lot of dangerous people out here. And they come in all shapes and sizes, all nationalities, all sexes, all religions. They out here. All right, so I'm going to put this on a speed of 125. Okay, so going a little faster. But I think I'm going to start off when this judge start talking, because this one here we just going to basically watch is the opening statement. So when he finishes opening statement with the judge after what he says, then I'm going to go into put on speed 125. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, let's get it. And don't forget, hit that like button. That helps out the content creator. And thank you to all my new viewers who's been checking out my commentary and also checking out my past commentary. Let's get it.
An introduction to the trial of the case. These remarks are not a charge on the law in the case. And I will instruct you as to the law during the trial in greater detail at the end of the trial before you retire to consider your verdict. This is merely an explanation of the procedure that we will follow so that you will better understand what may be happening. Many of you may want to take notes during the trial. If you do, bailiffs will be instructed to provide you with a notepad to take notes. Individual.
Look at his dead eyes. Just look at it. Look at the eyes. Resume. Oh, and I forgot to mention, there might be some times I might pause for a quick second to, share my thoughts and opinions on it. Let's get it.
Notepads, you will have to leave them in the courtroom when you go to the jury room. You will not have access to them other than while you're seated in the jury box until deliberations. Understand that some of us are better note takers than others, and the fact that one person has taken a note is not any substitution for the recollection of your fellow jurors. The defendant, Mr. Rowland, is charged by an indictment filed with this court. He's charged with the offense of murder, kidnapping, and possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime. He has pled not guilty to these charges. The indictment or the indictments are simply the charge of charges which has been levied against the defendant, and it is not in any sense evidence of the allegations contained in it. His plea of not guilty places upon the state the burden of proving each and every element of the indictments against him beyond a reasonable doubt. And it will be your duty as jurors to decide whether the state has met that burden. Your purpose as jurors is to find and to determine the facts of this case, because out of all the 600-700 people who were summoned, the great multitude who appeared yesterday, out of all the people who appeared this morning, out of all the people who live in the state of South Carolina, Richland County, out of all the people in the world, only the 12 of you who will deliberate can decide the facts of this case. You are the sole judge of the facts of this case. And if at any time I make any comment regarding the facts, you must disregard it, because you are the sole judges of the facts of this case. Now, just as you are the sole judges of the facts as the presiding judge, I am the sole judge of the law. And you must accept as correct the law as I stated to you at this time, during the trial, and in greater detail at the end of the trial. You are to determine the facts from the testimony that will come from this witness stand to my right, together with other evidence and exhibits that may be offered. It is especially important that you perform your duty of determining the facts diligently, that you are conscientious and stay focused on the evidence, because ordinarily there is no way to correct an erroneous determination of a fact by a jury. We will take sufficient breaks so that you will not get worn out sitting for a long period of time. As I stated to you earlier, you are to not discuss the case with anyone after you leave the courtroom. You are to refrain. You must make a conscious effort to refrain from being exposed to any information about the case outside of the courtroom. You're not to consult or review any internet sources, any websites, blogs. You're not to engage in any personal investigation. You are to refrain from any access to any information about this case, because you just took an oath to well and duly try this case and render a true verdict according to the law and according to the evidence, so help you God. And once you if you uphold that oath and stick to that oath, you will have fulfilled your duty as jurors, and no one will have any basis to complain about your verdict. Now, as I indicated, you are to determine the facts of this case from the law, from the evidence that is presented, including exhibits. Necessarily, you will have to evaluate the credibility, that is the believability of the evidence that is offered during the course of the trial. In just a moment, the solicitor will make what's called an opening statement, in which reference would be made to the what the state believes that the evidence in the case will show. And following that, the defendant will be given an opportunity through counsel to do so if they desire. We'll proceed now to opening statements from the state.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to hear the opening statements. If I'm correct, it's going to be the prosecution's opening statement, which was very powerful. Let's get it. I might slow down the speed to 125 now. Resume.
Ms. Bennett, Ms. Good, Mr. Pillinger, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. March 28th, 2019 was supposed to be a celebration. Samantha Josephson and friends were gathering together as a celebration of life. They hadn't seen one another in a while, and they were getting together because, quite frankly, they were all about to graduate. They were getting together to relive a few of those kind and fun moments of college, and a chance to reflect a little bit on those times and also to think a little bit about what the future was to hold. They were looking towards toasting and celebrating the fact that they were graduating and moving to a new phase of their life. They had their eyes firmly fixed on their futures and their eyes firmly fixed on their love for one another. But what they didn't realize, what they could never have realized, is that the defendant, Nathaniel David Rowland, had his eyes firmly fixed on Samantha Josephson. He had his eyes fixed on Ms. Josephson as she walked outside the Bird Dog Lounge in 5 Points, alone. As she walked outside, as she had ordered an Uber ride, alone. As she stood there alone waiting on that Uber, he had his eyes firmly transfixed on her as she waited for that Uber ride to arrive. We know this because 5 Points has cameras. The cameras captured Nathaniel Rowland's vehicle, a 2017 Chevrolet Impala, a black 2017 Chevrolet Impala, circling the block multiple times, not stopping to converse with people, not stopping to eat, but just circling the block, sometimes even in the wrong direction down Saluda Avenue. 5 Points has cameras. Cameras record Nathaniel Rowland's 2017 black Impala as it pulls into a parking space next to where Samantha is waiting by herself for that Uber. And she mistakenly gets into that vehicle owned by the defendant, Nathaniel David Rowland. And we know that to be true because those cameras in 5 Points that I mentioned to you captured those things. The evidence will show that after she got into that vehicle, that's the last time that anybody saw her alive. The next time that somebody saw Samantha Josephson, she was found alone in the woods, covered in her own blood, dead. She'd been stabbed multiple times from the bottom of her feet, throughout her torso, throughout her face, her neck, and her head. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm Byron Gibson. I'm the solicitor here. And along with Deputy Solicitor Daniel Goldberg, Deputy Solicitor April Sampson, and Assistant Solicitor Amanda Gaston, we represent the state of South Carolina against the defendant, Nathaniel David Rowland. Now, over the next couple moments, I'm going to give you just a little bit of a roadmap so that you'll understand where we're going and what we're going to be doing over the next several days as we try this case. And let me say this, just a point of order. You may see the folks at this table sometimes without masks on. We've been vaccinated. We're not making a political statement. We're conversing with one another. We've been together for some period of time and we're comfortable with one another. We believe that the evidence in this case is going to show, and the evidence that you're going to hear from this witness chair in this courtroom, that once Samantha Josephson got into Nathaniel Rowland's 2017 black Impala, she couldn't get out. And she couldn't get out because the child safety lights were engaged. We believe that the evidence will show that that vehicle traveled.
This dusty lowlife locked the car doors when she got in. Just imagine the horror, the terror that she felt when that happened to her. What a shame. Resume.
Through the Shandon community and into the Rosewood community. We know that to be true because Samantha's friends and her boyfriend Greg shared their locations on a social app called Find My Friend. We believe that investigators will testify that Samantha's phone tracked into that Rosewood community, but mysteriously powered off around 2:27 a.m., roughly 20 minutes from the time that she got into Nathaniel Rowland's 2017 black Impala. We believe that the evidence will show that Nathaniel Rowland's phone and Samantha Josephson's phones tracked together, meaning they were together in that car, in that vehicle at some point in time. We believe the evidence will show that after Samantha's phone powered off, that Mr. Rowland's phone continued to ping, to be tracked up Rosewood, up Garners Ferry Road, eventually up Sumter Highway, into Sumter, South Carolina, and then into a small community called New Zion. New Zion, remember that place. New Zion is important for several reasons. Number one, it's the childhood town of the defendant, Nathaniel David Rowland. It's the place where Samantha Josephson's body was found, where it had been discarded, where it had been dumped. And interestingly enough, the place where her body was discarded, dumped, that remote area, was just about 2 miles from the family home of Nathaniel David Rowland. We expect that the evidence will show that after leaving New Zion, Mr. Rowland's phone tracks back through Sumter, South Carolina. But this time, he makes a stop. Someone is seen using Samantha Josephson's debit card, Wells Fargo card, attempting to get money out of her account, 2 times unsuccessfully. The evidence will show that Mr. Rowland's phone tracks back into Columbia, South Carolina, pretty much the corner of Rosewood and Garners Ferry. There's a Wells Fargo there. Video evidence will show, again, a person attempting to get money out of Samantha Josephson's account. 9 attempts, each one of those 9 attempts unsuccessful. And again, video evidence will show those things.
See what I'm talking about? He's a dusty lowlife. And like I said, I'm going to be showing some more of this trial. And I'll be posting this on Sunday. And I'll probably be doing this on every Sunday and Wednesday, each trial days. But, yeah. And then you can also see this monster right here. His girlfriend is going to come up on the stand. So we can hear what she has to say. Girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, whatever. But we can hear what she has to say. Low life. Poor girl. Imagine the horror that she felt. Ladies and gentlemen, just be careful out there. Really be careful. All right. Resume.
We expect that you'll hear testimony from a person named Maria, somebody who was a friend of Mr. Josephson, who had just begun to have some type of relationship with Mr. Josephson. We believe the testimony will show that Mr. Josephson had access to Maria's home. Maria was a friend who Mr. Rowland was supposed to be taking to work that morning, some hours after Samantha disappeared. He was late, but he did arrive at Maria's home. And when he got there, got in the car, when Maria got in the car, we expect the testimony will show that she questioned what was going on inside that car. Why was there blood inside the car? We expect that you'll hear testimony about the fact that once she arrived at work late, there was an agreement that he was to pick her up from work, but he was late to that as well. We expect the testimony will show video evidence of Mr. Rowland walking into the store to attempt to sell Samantha Josephson's cell phone. We expect that you'll hear evidence. You'll hear evidence from this witness chair of witnesses who will talk about the bloody clothes of Nathaniel Rowland that they found in a dumpster behind Maria's home that he had access to. Cleaning products that were in a dumpster behind Maria's home that he had access to. And this peculiar looking knife-bladed tool that we expect Maria will testify that she'd seen Mr. Rowland with on a previous occasion. We also expect that you'll hear that that weapon was found in the garbage behind Maria's home. But equally important, as you hear testimony, you'll hear from a pathologist. That pathologist will explain to you that Samantha Josephson suffered over 100 different stab wounds and cuts and abrasions across her body. And those wounds were consistent with that blade that they found, or that was found in the trash behind Maria's home. That blade that she saw him cleaning at some point in time the next day. I submit to you that as you hear additional testimony, you'll hear testimony about DNA analysts and crime scene analysts who came and they took a look at Mr. Rowland's 2017 black Impala. And they found Samantha Josephson's blood in that Impala, her prints in that Impala, her hair in that Impala. we suggest to you that that's the same vehicle that was seen circling around 5 Points. The same vehicle that Maria rode in that day and said, hey, what's going on with the blood? That same vehicle that 24 hours after Samantha Josephson.
You hear this? This dusty lowlife was just circling around the block, just looking for a victim, just looking for someone. It's sad. There's so many sick people out here, and they all over. All right, let's get back to it.
Josephson showed missing, came up missing. That same vehicle, it was back in 5 Points. Back in 5 Points, riding down the street. Evidence will show that the Columbia Police Department initiated a traffic stop on that 2017 Black Impala. And Mr. Rowland eventually stopped the car after he turned the wrong way down Saluda Avenue for the second time in less than 24 hours. Mr. Rowland, at some point, gets out of the vehicle, speaks with police, and takes off running. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, it's for those intentional, deliberate, heinous, cruel, and malicious acts that Nathaniel David Rowland has been indicted for kidnapping Samantha Josephson. He's been indicted for murdering Samantha Josephson, and he's been indicted for possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime. And at the appropriate time, we'll ask that you return verdicts of guilty on each one of those counts. Now, as the prosecutor, I carry the role, and all of us at this table carry the role of having to prove the case against Nathaniel David Rowland. Every element, as Judge Newman has said, beyond a reasonable doubt. And we welcome that role. We welcome that opportunity. Our courts have defined reasonable doubt in a couple ways. One is reasonable doubt is the amount of doubt that makes a reasonable person hesitate to act. The amount of doubt that causes a reasonable person to hesitate to act. Or second definition is you the jury, must be firmly convinced of a defendant's guilt in order to find him guilty. Now, Judge Newman has explained to you the roles that each of us has in this courtroom. But part of that role, too, is the definitions that I just gave. You actually will take those definitions from Judge Newman, because he's the judge of the law in this case. He will instruct you on reasonable doubt. He'll instruct you on all of the other legal matters that you have to deal with. And you're to take the law as he gives it to you, because he is the judge in this case, and he is the judge of the law in this case. But you have a role as well. Each of you will be a judge of the facts in this case. And the facts that come from this witness chair, the evidence that comes from this witness chair, will be what you make your decisions on. You'll take the facts that you learn here and apply the law that Judge Newman gives you. And ultimately, when that time comes, when you're instructed to, deliberate. Now, some of you are probably asking, well, how in the world am I supposed to deliberate and deal with the facts and judge evidence and all this stuff that you're talking about? Let me just give you a couple tips and then I'll get out of your face. First, you're going to be introduced to basically 3 different types of evidence in this case. The first is direct evidence. Direct evidence is evidence that you can see, that you can touch, that you can feel, maybe even smell. Direct evidence. A second type of evidence is circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence is evidence that you can infer exists from a series of facts. I'll say that again. Evidence that you can infer exists based on a series of facts. So one of the best analogies of circumstantial evidence that I can give you is, as we sit in this courtroom today, we all know it's summer in South Carolina. It's raining today, it's a little warm outside. But let's say we walk out of here at 5:30, 6 o'clock today, and whatever time the Judge Newman tells us we can go home. And you see snow on the road. Let's say you see icicles hanging down from the post office. You see tracks in there, maybe see some penguins walking around. You didn't see what happened, but you can infer that it snowed. You may not have seen it coming down, you may not have felt the weather change, but you can infer that it snowed based on the series of facts that there's snow on the ground, that there are tracks, that there are icicles. You can infer that. I say that because when it comes to circumstantial evidence, it's just as powerful as direct evidence. And that's some of the things that you'll see in this case. You'll have circumstantial evidence, and you can infer certain things happen based on that series of facts. And you're to take that just as you would direct evidence. A third type of evidence that you'll see in this case are stipulations. Stipulations are agreements between the parties, so between our office and the defense, that certain facts exist. And if you are read a stipulation by our office or judge informed you that the stipulation exists, then you're to take that as if it's a testimony that came from that witness chair, uncontradicted, because all parties agree that it's there. Now, as it comes to looking at witnesses, you're going to hear from lay witnesses, meaning people who may have witnessed something particular or seen something particular in this case. You'll hear from law enforcement. You'll hear from experts. And the judge will explain to you the role of experts in this case at the appropriate time. But as you listen to them, you'll have the opportunity to judge their credibility and their believability. And so you may ask how do you do that. I'll just say simply, just like you're judging my credibility and my believability right now, those same tools that you've used throughout your lives, that's what we're asking you to bring to the table as you deliberate, as you listen to this case, and as you ultimately deliberate. I'll tell you, you didn't leave your common sense in the parking lot when you parked today. You brought it with you. That's why you all are sitting here right now. That's why we went through that painstaking process of picking jurors over the last day and a half, so that we could make sure to pick folks who could well and truly try the facts of this case in this courtroom and ultimately return a verdict. And we'll be asking that you return a verdict of guilty. You were to try this case based on the evidence that you hear in this courtroom, not someplace else, not thoughts that you may have about X, Y, or Z, but what you hear in this courtroom during this trial. Now, my final ask of you here is going to be simple. I'm going to ask that you consider something that's called Occam's razor. Occam's razor is a principle that suggests that with all things being considered, the simplest explanation is the truth. With all things being considered, the simplest explanation is the truth. We believe that the simple explanation is that Nathaniel David Rowland kidnapped Samantha Josephson. We believe that the simple explanation is that Nathaniel David Rowland murdered Samantha Josephson. And we believe the simple explanation in this case is that Nathaniel David Rowland possessed a weapon during the commission of a violent crime. And we believe those things because it's not only the simple explanation, but it's the right explanation. And ultimately, after you hear all of the evidence in this case, we'll be asking that you return a verdict of guilty of all counts because he is indeed guilty in all counts. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience.
By the defense.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court.
Okay, let's hear what the defense have to say.
12. The number 12. I want each of you to remember that number. It's important. We'll get back to it. For now, just keep it in your mind. The number 12. And I want to talk to you about a different number that has come to light during the course of this case, and that's 0. That's important. It's incredibly important. But also remember number 12. Now, 0 signifies several things in this case, and I'll start with the first one. It signifies the number of times that anyone sitting over there will have a bad or disrespectful thing to say about Samantha Josephson. 0. It just will not happen. It's also the number of times you will hear anyone over at this table say she is to blame for what happened to her. 0. It is not her fault. And I want to make that perfectly clear today. And I submit to you, by the time this trial is all said and done, and you have heard all the evidence in this case, you will be saying the same thing about Nathaniel Rowland. That it is not his fault, and he is not to blame for the death of Samantha Josephson. Now, by all accounts, it sounds like Samantha was a quite remarkable young lady with a bright future. Smart, motivated, and funny. And I submit to you, one heck of a fighter. You've heard the state lay out what they believe happened that night, that in her final moments, that Samantha fought. She fought for her life. She fought hard. She fought hard. She was repeatedly stabbed with what they're calling a sharp weapon, a multi-tool, a blade no longer than about 2 inches. In the close, confined, and cramped back seat of a car. She fought, kicking and punching and clawing at the person attacking her. With the state when she believed is Nathaniel Rowland. trying with everything in her power, fighting. And you've heard, tragically, that same day that she was last seen at the bird dog, she's later found. And she's found out in Clarendon County. But that's not where Samantha's story ends. You'll hear how crime scene agents with the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, they get called out to Clarendon County right away, and they rush out there to begin that important job of processing what they've been called out to see. And these agents, they're not going to have a whole lot of information as they're getting into Clarendon County, and that's typical at the beginning of the story. But they come prepared with the tools they need to get the job done. And so as they arrive, pull up on the scene, they're immediately going to work. They're observing the area, documenting with photographs and notes, and collecting items. And they see this is a wooded area, surrounded by dirt roads. And again, they're documenting, taking pictures, making notes. And as they're getting there and observing the area, these two crime scene agents from SLED, they see 2 beer cans, some cigarette butts nearby. One agent documents those with photographs, while the other documents in their notes, eventually going back and sticking flags where each one is. Maybe they're important, maybe they're not, they don't know. They don't have a lot of information. Their job is to collect that information, try to figure out what exactly happened. Same scene, they notice tire tracks and muddy ruts. Again, continuing to document and take notes. As I told you, 2 agents on scene in Clarendon County. And they're doing the same thing as they approach that wooded area where Samantha is laying just 20 feet off of that dirt road. And they notice what they describe as a footpath from the road to where her body lays. Again, they document it, take pictures, put it in their notes. They make notes about what she's wearing, her broken shoe, that she only has one earring in her ear. And they note the numerous wounds on her body, all over her body, from the top of her head down to her feet. And they also note what looks like drag marks on her back and her shoulder. And note that her fingernails have been ripped and torn because she fought. And they spend hours at that scene, these 2 crime scene agents.
Her fingernails ripped and torn. She fought for her life. She fought to live. She just couldn't make it because of this Dusty. All right, let's get back to it. Resume.
Agents taking tons of pictures, making their observations about the area, leaving nothing unturned, making their notes. And before Samantha's body is carried off, they need a couple more things. They want to get her fingerprints, they want to scrape her fingernails, and they take a swab of her mouth for DNA purposes. Eventually taking all of these things, along with those beer cans and those cigarette butts, back to the lab at SLED. Now, fast forward to Saturday, March 30th, in the early morning hours, around 2:30. And you've heard Mr. Gibson talk about that when Nate gets pulled over by the police. Those same 2 crime scene agents I've been talking about that were in Clarendon County, they're called to come out to that car on Saluda Avenue and immediately begin the task at hand, documenting that car, observing it, making notes, collecting items. And over the next couple of days, they spend a lot of time with that car, going back and doing the exact same thing, swabbing. They swab the steering wheel, the gear shift, the door handles. They lift prints, take pictures, and collect items from that car. And again, taking all of those items back to the lab at SLED. And it's a whirlwind of an investigation. There are a lot of people involved at this point. There's a third crime scene agent with SLED, Dawn Claycomb. She goes out to the autopsy of Samantha Josephson, collects more evidence that maybe wasn't collected at the scene. Again, getting her fingerprints, taking prints of her feet, another swab, and this time they swab both of her ankles. Okay? Now that same night that Nate is pulled over by police from the Columbia Police Department, he's taken down to a Columbia Police Department building. And it's there that one of the CSI agents from SLED, one of the crime scene agents, Agent Zazik, you'll hear from her, she goes to CPD to take pictures of Nate that night, about 24 hours later. She wants to take pictures of his head, of his face, of his arms and his hands. She takes pictures of him. They're looking for scratches or marks or bruises, but there are none. Zero. Again, all of these items that these crime scene agents from Clarendon County, from the Clarendon County scene, from the car, from Nate, the pictures, they take all of this back to the lab at SLED for the scientists there to process and analyze and interpret. But it would be months after the death of Samantha Josephson and months after the arrest of Nathaniel Rowland when the scientists would present their findings on their analysis to the investigators in this case. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to hear this number again, and that is 0. That's the amount of DNA on Samantha Josephson's body that matches Nathaniel Rowland. 0. It's not on her clothing. It's not under her ripped and torn fingernails. It's not on her ankles. But like I told you before, it's evident that Samantha was a fighter. You'll hear from Dr. Thomas Beaver. He was the medical examiner at MUSC. And I'm sure he will go into excruciating detail about the injuries she suffered from the top of her head to her feet. Her ripped and torn fingernails and her battered knuckles. She fought. And because she fought, she did get some evidence for you. That's right. Nathaniel's DNA is not there, but someone else's is. Multiple someones. And remember those swabs that the crime scene agents took from his car, from the steering wheel, from the gear shift, from the door handles. More DNA that does not belong to Nathaniel Rowland. All of the evidence that the state is going to show you and want to show you throughout this case. It's basically what Nathaniel does from March 29th in the afternoon hours to the evening hours into the early morning hours of March 30th. But he's not on trial for that. Ladies and gentlemen, there's 0 evidence that Nathaniel Rowland was the one that kidnapped and killed Samantha Josephson. Now remember that number 12 I told you about at the very beginning, that important number? That number signifies you, the jury. And everyone at that table over there has been waiting since March 30th of 2019 to meet you guys. And I told you this number is important because it represents the first 12 people that will have all of the information, not just what's convenient for the narrative. The first 12 people not to jump to conclusions about this case. And the 12 people that will come back and tell the world that Nathaniel Rowland did not kidnap and kill Samantha Josephson, that Nathaniel Rowland is not guilty. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, it'll take about 5 minutes, and then we'll proceed with the first witness. Please go to the jury room. We have you come back in about 5 minutes. Please do not discuss the case.
Sir, where are you from?
Charles. In South Carolina since I was about 8 years old.
All right. And did you go to high school in that area?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Where did you go to college?
I went to the University of South Carolina.
What years were you at the University of South Carolina?
I started in 2014.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is still day one trial. Direct exam of cross-examination, excuse me, of Gray Corbish. I can't pronounce the name, but this is Samantha's boyfriend. So now he's testifying. You can tell he's heartbroken. He lost the love of his life through the hands of this Dusty right here. Yes, this Dusty. Okay, let's get back to it, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget, hit that like button, share it out on your social media, subscribe to the channel if you're into my commentary, and also feel free to check out some of my past commentary too, and share your thoughts and opinions in the comment section. Thank you. Resume.
2014, graduated December of, 2014, excuse me, graduated December of 2018.
All right. Can you tell this jury how you came to meet Samantha Josephson?
We met in the 5 Points area out at one of the bars. Started a conversation. That's how I got to meet her.
All right. And where was Samantha from?
Robbinsville, New Jersey.
Do you know how she ended up here in Columbia?
She also went to the University of South Carolina.
Okay. Can you describe your relationship with her over the first couple of years of knowing her and her time in college?
Yeah, for a little bit. I guess the way I would describe it is we were talking. We were more than friends, but we weren't quite to the stage of boyfriend and girlfriend. That happened for about a year, and then we decided to make it official, become boyfriend and girlfriend in the spring of 2017, I believe.
Okay. And as you were getting to know each other during those first couple of years and even beyond, what kinds of things did you do together?
We did everything together. I would say we kept in contact more than the average couple. You know, even when we were living 5 minutes apart, FaceTime each other, checking in, go get food. We go to the 5 Points area together. We go to football games. We did pretty much everything together.
Right. And you said at some point things got a bit more serious between you. Is that right?
Yeah, spring of 2017, right before the summer.
And ultimately, you guys were actually in a relationship.
Yes, sir.
Cared for each other a great deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Loved one another.
Yeah.
And what were you studying at Carolina?
I was studying marketing in the business school with a minor in sports management.
How about Samantha?
Samantha was poli-sci with aspirations of going to law school.
Okay. And you said you graduated when?
December of 2018.
When was Samantha expected to graduate?
Spring of that 2019.
Okay.
Or May.
And you said that as far as after school, after graduation, each of you had plans. And what were those plans?
So she had just gotten accepted into Drexel Law School on a full scholarship. I was still on the job search, but our plan was that she would go to Drexel, and due to the obviously difficult nature of law school, I wanted to make it a little easier, so my plan was to move up to Philadelphia and look for a job up there and not live together per se at that point, but be close enough to where it wasn't going to be tough on either of us.
All
Going too close?
right.
There we go.
Drexel's in the Philadelphia area, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's turn your attention to March of 2019, specifically Thursday, March 28th of 2019. Where were you that day and what were you doing?
I was in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. I started the day off going to my brother's house, looking after his dog because he was at work. And then I was watching the March Madness games at night around 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Yeah, I just moved it just slightly. I was getting a little feedback.
Sorry.
There you go. So you said you were in Charleston and the NCAA tournament was going on?
Right, I was watching the game that started around 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Okay. Where was Samantha?
Samantha was in Columbia, South Carolina, at her apartment.
Were you in contact with her that night?
I was in contact with her throughout the entire day.
Okay. What form of contact did you all have with each other?
FaceTime, text messages, calls, basically asking me to come up to Columbia that night to visit her.
Okay. And do you know generally what her plans were that night and who they were with?
Just her roommates and her friends, her extended friend group that didn't live with her. They were going to go out to the 5 Points area like any regular night at South Carolina.
And who is Tegan Berry?
Tegan Berry is one of her roommates and one of her very good friends.
Okay. And was she with her that night?
Yes.
Could you tell and so you talked to Samantha by these different various platforms throughout the night, you said?
Yes, sir.
While she was still at home?
Well, she's still at the hub where she lives, yeah.
The hub. Okay. Where's the hub?
My memory serves me correctly from when I lived there, 1426 Main Street.
Could you tell when you were discussing with her, or when you were talking to her that night, whether she'd been drinking at all?
Yeah, I think, they had plans to go to the 5 Points area. They had a couple drinks. I'm not sure how many.
Okay. Was that unusual for her, or you, or her friends?
No.
All right. Now, without going into specifics, did she confide in you that night about some concerns that she had about her family at all?
Yes.
Some medical issues with a family member or something like that?
Yes.
Okay. So as a result of that, what did you tell her?
I told her to get her mind off of it, to go out with her friends, that she had just worked so hard, got into law school. She deserved to have a night to celebrate that and have fun with her friends. And I just told her to go out and have fun that night.
At the end of that conversation, what did you do?
I believe I went to the gym right after that. The NCAA game had just ended, and I think it was around 9:30, 10. I headed over to my neighborhood gym.
All right. Did you talk to Samantha again?
I did a couple times while I was at the gym, while she was trying to convince me to come up to Columbia still.
Was that unusual for her to try to do that?
Absolutely not.
And did it go?
Most of the time, pretty much every single time, yes. I had done that 2-hour drive quite a bit.
On this particular night, did you make the ride up to Columbia?
I did not.
How come?
Because she was supposed to be visiting 2 days later on Saturday. I always went to Columbia. I never had her come to Charleston, so we planned that trip, and she was supposed to come down, so I figured I'd see her in 2 days, just wait till then.
While you were at the gym, were you having contact with her throughout?
Yes.
Do you remember how?
I think I got a couple FaceTimes, a couple text messages, just the same thing, saying I really want you to come up to Columbia. I really need you to be with me tonight. I guess she was still thinking about the stuff that she had confided in me about, and just wanted me to be around to make her feel a little bit better.
So what time did you get home from the gym?
11:30
Okay.
p.m.
And when did you next have contact with Samantha?
As soon as I got home, once again, kind of more of the same stuff. I believe at that point they were leaving the hub to go to their friend Edgar's house, which is about 2 minutes outside of the 5 Points area.
And so based on your conversations with her and your texts, about what time did she get to the 5 Points area that night?
I would say about 12:15, 12:30.
Okay. And where did she go? Do you know what establishment?
She went to Bird Dog, which is,
Is that a place you had been before?
I'm sorry?
Is that a place you had been before?
Yeah, numerous times.
And she had been there numerous times?
Yeah, it was a regular place that we went to.
All right, so as the night progressed between approximately 12:30 and say 2 a.m., what was the nature of your contact with her during that period?
It was mostly just telling me, just kind of out there things just about the bar, if she saw anyone that I knew, just casual conversation, and then mixed in with, I really want you to still come up to Columbia and drive up.
At some point late in the evening, did you actually speak to her via telephone call?
I did around 2:04, well, a little bit in that 12:30, 1 o'clock a couple times, and then the last time was around 2:04 a.m.
Okay. When you spoke to her on the phone, what was she doing?
At what point?
I'm sorry, thank you. The approximate 2:04 a.m. call, what was she doing?
At that point, she was leaving the bar. She told me she had called an Uber, and she was waiting on that to go back home to the hub.
Was that unusual for her to, or any of you in the group, to take an Uber like that?
No, Ubers are pretty frequent. There's not really another avenue of transportation, and the hub is so far away that no one wants to make that walk.
So what happened next?
We got off the phone. Me and her had our locations shared with each other through the Find My Friends app, and I tracked it just to make sure she got home safe, as I always did.
I'm sorry, I kind of stopped you there. Can you describe what that Find My Friend app is and how that works?
Right, so it'll pinpoint where whoever it is that shares their location, where they are, and it'll give you a constant update by the second about where their location is. And like I said, it's pretty frequently updated, so if you're in a car, it'll track it, as you're moving.
Okay. And so why were you looking at where she was going?
I just want to make sure she got home safely.
Okay. So, got a map here of Columbia. And if you could describe what you've been talking about in terms of the bird dog in that area and the hub, what you see. Can you see it?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't think I understand the question.
Just the relationship between the hub and the bird dog.
I mean, they're pretty far, as you can see.
All right. And so, when you began tracking her phone as she departs the bird dog, which direction was it headed?
Where that yellow pin is for the bird dog, it went south of that.
Okay, so this way?
Yeah, the complete opposite direction of where you would go if you were going towards the hub.
Okay. And when you saw that she was going in a different direction, what did you do?
I called her, first texted her. At first, I really didn't think anything of it. I thought maybe they're going back to Edgar's or someone's house after. But there was no response and no answer to the call.
And this might sound like a stupid question, but how did you know that that was the wrong direction, headed this way, as opposed to going to the hub?
Because I lived there and I had taken that Uber route very many times.
You had previously lived at the hub yourself.
Yeah.
So you said you tried to reach her directly?
Tried to reach her by phone, didn't, it rang, went straight, then went to voicemail, tried texting. Both of us had read receipts on, it just said delivered, and I never got the read receipt back.
And that would indicate to you, what, for those of us that are not as technologically inclined, what does that mean?
That she hadn't read the message, or that she wasn't around her phone, or, for whatever reason, she hadn't looked at the message personally. That would be what I would think.
And so you continue to follow her whereabouts.
Right.
Find my friend.
Right, and then I think I tried contacting her by Snapchat as well, and no answer there. I believe her location stopped. It stopped getting shared with me, which had never happened before in our relationship.
About what time?
About 2:30, 2:40 a.m.
Okay, and the general area in which that happened?
That was the Montgomery Avenue. Was the last place that I saw it tracked to.
And so can you describe what we're looking at here on the map?
Yeah, I mean, that's Montgomery Avenue, that's Bird Dog right in the middle, and as you can see, the hub they're on opposite sides of each other.
And you said that this area
Was the last area that the Find My Friends app showed her location at.
what did you think was happening at this point?
And I really didn't know what to think. I thought maybe she left her phone in an Uber, and the Uber went home. I called her roommates to ask, do you know if she's home? Are you guys home? I didn't really know what to think at this point. I just kept trying to call her just to see if she would answer.
And did you actually end up speaking to?
That's a good boyfriend she had. Yep. He cared about her. He wanted to make sure she was safe. He was concerned. He was worried. He kept looking. Ladies, when you have a man like that, that's a sign. You got yourself a real one right there. Don't let him go. But this monster ended it, right? Yep, he ended it. Mr. Dusty. Resume.
Her roommates at all?
Yeah, I think I had some texts with them around 3 or 3:30. I don't really remember the time. But I had told them the situation, and I think they came to the same conclusion or assumption that I did, that maybe she dropped her phone or something like that. But
So to your knowledge, did her friends actually go looking for her that night?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think they did. I believe they did.
But you didn't find out that they had made contact with her in any way?
No, I think I went to sleep around 5 a.m.
5 a.m.?
Yeah.
And so that would have been, we were talking about Thursday night, but this is really
Friday morning. Yes,
right?
sir.
Okay, and that's March 29th.
Yes, sir.
2019, correct? Did you get any sleep that night?
I tried to get my mind off of it, and I did go to sleep around 5:30 a.m.
Tell us what you did. I'm not going to say the next morning, but a few hours later after you slept for a little bit.
I woke up, I think, around 11 a.m. To calls from her roommate, Carly, saying that Samantha had never returned home.
Can't say what they told you.
Oh,
but
excuse me.
That's all right.
I apologize.
You can say her roommate called you.
Roommate called me.
Right. So based on that, what did you do?
I drove up to Columbia.
You still hadn't heard from her at any point? From
No,
Samantha?
I hadn't heard anything.
No responses to any of your messages? Of any
No,
kind?
nothing. No read receipts, no nothing.
So when you got to Columbia, what did you do?
There was a police officer there.
Where?
At the hub already, and then I went down and I gave them the information from the previous night that I just gave to you.
When you say there's a police officer at the hub, had that officer, to your knowledge, already been there speaking with the roommates?
Yes.
Okay. And you just happened to see the officer when you got there?
No,
as well?
I went up to the room, and then the officer asked if she could interview me down by her police car on Main Street.
Okay. So you spoke to the officer, told him what you knew, and after that, what did you do in Columbia?
After that, we went to the Montgomery Avenue point. We started knocking on doors, asking if anyone had seen anything suspicious, heard anything. We looked around. We looked like on the grass for her phone, any trace of that she had been there. We didn't find anything, and neither had the neighbors heard anything.
And what came after that?
After that, we went to the 5 Points area to see if we could ask some of the managers to look at the surveillance footage to see if she had gotten in a car, to see which way she went, anything to, kind of give us a little inkling of where she might be. We went to Breakers first because it has a pretty big view of the main street of 5 Points. They didn't have anything. So then we went to Bird Dog, and that's when we saw the footage of her getting into the black Chevy Impala.
You actually saw that yourself?
Yeah,
Did you recognize the vehicle at all?
I did not.
What was next?
Next, I believe I went.
Well, let me ask you this. Did Samantha work back then?
She did.
Where did she work?
She Liberty in the Vista.
Liberty, is that Liberty Tap Room?
Liberty Tap Room in the Vista.
What was her job there?
Waitress.
Was that just on the side while she was going to school?
Yeah.
Did you try to contact them at all?
I did, and apparently she had a shift at about 11 a.m. that morning that she had never shown up for.
Friday morning.
Friday morning, yes, sir.
They hadn't seen or heard from her.
Hadn't seen or heard from her, and that was very uncharacteristic of her.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead with what you're saying.
After we found out that there was a black Chevy Impala, we started searching for any black Chevy Impala we could see in the 5 Points area. We came across one, we alerted officers to it. We looked at it, and there was nothing in there. We looked in the window, there was nothing. Then I got a call, I met up with another one of my friends, and we went back to the Montgomery area where her phone was last tracked. We just kept knocking on doors, looking for any inkling, because it was really the only thing we had to go off of, and also further looking for a black Chevy Impala, possibly in that area, parked in her driveway.
Did you see any Impalas in that area?
I did not.
Did you speak to some of the residents in those areas?
One or two families.
Okay. Nothing came from that?
Nothing.
All right. And so by the time you're doing this, approximately what time of day is this on Friday that you rode over there?
Then I went back to Montgomery.
Yeah.
I'd say about 10 p.m., 10:30 p.m.
All right. Was
Maybe
that
a little
it?
bit earlier, maybe 9:30,
Okay.
around that time frame.
Was that it for the night, or what did you do after that?
After that, her parents had driven down, and I was in contact with them to meet them at the police station. The investigator told me to come to the police station as well.
Did some of her roommates go there as well?
They did later in the night, yes.
Okay.
I think I was the first one there.
And when you got to the police station, did you meet with investigators?
I did. They took me into a room and asked me further questions.
And essentially, did they have you kind of lay out what you laid out for this jury here today?
Yes.
Okay. At the time of that interview, that was late Friday night, is that right? Or are we now into Saturday morning now?
Yeah, I guess technically Saturday morning.
It's after midnight?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So at that time, we're about 24 hours removed from her being gone, correct?
Right.
Okay. When you were being interviewed by the Columbia Police Department at that time, had you been given any information about where she was?
No.
What happened after you completed your interview with them?
They took me back down to, I guess, what the waiting room is, or the main entrance room. I was surprised to see her roommates there. I was unaware that they were there. We waited for about 10, 15 minutes, and then they led us into what I would call a conference room, and there were Mr. and Mrs. Josephson sitting there, looking distraught. First thing that went through my head was, I hope their look is just because they haven't found her yet. As you said, or as I confirmed, they hadn't told me what had actually happened yet. They broke the news to us right there, and just after that, I just broke down, felt my legs collapse from under me, and just kind of almost black out, just with disbelief.
When you spoke to her on the phone, when you spoke to Sammy on the phone at approximately 2:04 a.m., was that the last time you saw or spoke to her?
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
By the defense. Thank you. You may step down. Call your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I please the court? State calls Tegan Berry. I am Tegan Berry. Can you say your name one more time for the court reporter? Tegan Berry. Good afternoon, Ms. Berry. Please tell the jury a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm from New Jersey originally. I'm from Clinton, New Jersey. And then I did 1 year of community college at home before I transferred to USC my sophomore year.
And when did you graduate from USC?
The same May that Sammy would have graduated of 2019,
May of 2019. And when we say USC, you mean?
University of South Carolina.
And what do you do now?
I'm a communications coordinator up in New Jersey.
You briefly mentioned USC. You didn't start there as a freshman.
No, I was at a community college my freshman year, and then I transferred in my sophomore year with my roommate Jacqueline. She was also transferring in, so we kind of came together.
Was Jacqueline also a sophomore at the time?
Yes, she was also a sophomore at the time.
Did you know anybody else at USC before you got here?
My older brother went here before me as well, so I knew him and some of his friends, but it was really the transition happened because Jacqueline was going as well.
And did Jacqueline know anybody at the University of South Carolina?
We had a few other people from our high school who have been here, so yeah, we knew those high school people.
Was she a roommate throughout your time at USC?
Yeah, we were roommates all 3 years. We lived in that same apartment in the hub.
Did Jacqueline introduce you to some other girls?
Yes, Jacqueline is kind of the reason that I met Sammy and Carly and Jordan and Jenny, so yes.
And for the record, what is Jacqueline's last name?
Chizeski.
And who are some of the people that she introduced you to?
Sammy and Carly would be some of them. Jenny, also my other roommate. We've met kind of a bunch of people together. We came to school together.
You get closer to the mic.
Oh, sorry. Yes, we met a bunch of people together. Sammy and Carly and Jenny being some of them.
And did you and Sammy become friends after that?
Yes,
Did you ever live with Sammy?
I did. Yes, my senior year, I lived with Sammy.
And what was Sammy like?
She was goofy and silly. She was super caring. She's passionate. She's easygoing. She was just kind of the ideal person.
Is it fair to say you and Sammy were pretty close?
Yes.
What sort of things did you enjoy doing as a group?
We would go to football games. We would go out and get food. We would go out to 5 Points. We kind of did everything together.
Did you guys go to 5 Points pretty often?
Yes,
Is it fair to say that you were familiar with the area?
absolutely.
I want to draw your attention to March of 2019. Would this have been your senior year of college?
Yes.
Is there anything special you had going on in March? Anything you were looking forward to?
Yeah, I think we had spring break in that March, so we did that. Like Greg said, that Sammy had just gotten into law school, so we were just kind of celebrating the end of our school year as final semester seniors.
Thursday, March 28th of 2019. Were you in Columbia that day?
I was, yes.
Was there anything specific about this Thursday that you remember?
No, nothing out of the ordinary.
You mentioned spring break. Was everybody back in town by then?
Yes.
Was Jenny in town by then?
Oh, sorry. No, Jenny was not in town. Jenny did not come with us on spring break. She was in the Netherlands.
What was she doing in the Netherlands?
She was visiting her boyfriend at the time.
What were your plans for that Thursday evening?
Just to go out. The Thursday is basically a Friday for us, so
Why is that?
no one takes Friday classes.
I'm sorry, if you could just maybe repeat for the court.
Oh, sorry. We just didn't take Friday classes.
Did you have any friends over that night?
Yeah, some of our friends came over, Edgar being one of them. I think Emil was there, Shannon, and Daniel.
And that would be where specifically?
At the hub with the roommates that were home.
Did you go straight to 5 Points when you left the hub?
We did not. We went to our friend Edgar's house, who lives very close to 5 Points, so we went there so we could walk right in.
And who is Edgar?
Edgar is also someone we've met. He is from the Saluda, I believe. He's friends with Carly and them.
Was his house near 5 Points?
Yes.
At some point, did you guys leave Edgar's?
Yes, we left Edgar's and walked right to Bird Dog.
Did everybody in the group who was at Edgar's go to Bird Dog?
Yes.
Did Jacqueline join you guys at Bird Dog?
Jacqueline walked in momentarily, but she did not stay long.
How did you guys get downtown?
I believe Edgar probably drove, and then we walked from his house.
Is Edgar's house pretty close to 5 Points?
Yes,
And where did you go when you got to 5 Points?
right to Bird Dog.
Just to clarify for the jury, what is Bird Dog?
Bird Dog is just a bar downtown. It's somewhere we went to very frequently, just an average bar, cheap drinks. And there with our friends all the time.
And was Sammy with you when you guys got to Bird Dog?
She was.
Do you remember what she was wearing that night?
I do. She was wearing an orange, bright orange top, black jeans, I think platform sandals, and my white bralette.
Beg the court's indulgence, Your Honor. Permission to approach the witness, Your Honor. Handing you what's been previously marked as State's Exhibit 1. Do you recognize the person in that photo?
Yep, that's Sammy.
And by Sammy, we mean,
Samantha Josephson.
and what is she wearing in that photograph?
An orange top, a white bralette, platform sandals, and black jeans.
And is this the outfit she was wearing that evening?
Correct.
Your Honor, at this time, the state moves to enter what's been previously marked for ID purposes as State's Exhibit 1.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
It is admitted without objection.
What were you doing inside the bar that night?
I think they're just listening to music, hanging out with their friends, talking.
Do you remember seeing Samantha inside Bird Dog?
I do.
What was she doing?
I mean, I'm sure I've seen her at multiple points in the night, but one of the last times I remember seeing her, she was over in the corner on the phone.
Was it common for you to split up when you got to a bar?
Yeah, I mean, we're all here, we all have a bunch of friends, so it was common that we would see someone else we know kind of wander and do what we were doing.
At some point, did you realize Samantha wasn't at Bird Dog anymore?
I did not.
And was it common for members of your group, your friend group, to leave in shifts?
Yes.
When did you realize that Samantha wasn't with the group?
It really wasn't until Greg contacted us later in the night.
Would you say it's out of the ordinary for Greg to reach out if he couldn't get in touch with Samantha?
Nope.
What did you do after Greg reached out?
I opened my Find My Friends. We all track each other as well. So I noticed the same location that he had previously bought up, and we went to that location and checked it that night.
Was that the location, intersection between South Lot and Montgomery?
Correct.
Were you able to make contact with Sammy?
No.
What happened next?
After we went to that location, we kind of looked around. We noticed some cars that looked like a sorority girl's house and kind of an abandoned house. We didn't really think too much of it. Maybe her phone was in an Uber or something, if it was stopped there. And then we went back to our friend Emil's house that we were at previously, and then we Ubered home.
At that location, did you see, and by that I mean South Ott and Montgomery, did you see any sign of Samantha?
No.
Did you see any of her belongings?
No.
Were you concerned at this point?
Not really. Like we said, I thought maybe her phone was left in an Uber or something along the lines of that.
And what did you do next?
After that, we left Emil's house and went back home and went to bed.
And was Samantha at the apartment when you got home?
She was not. No, her door was still open for her room.
Explain for the jury where Samantha's bedroom door was in relation to yours.
Yeah, our room was kind of a V, so the kitchen was over here, and mine and Sammy's rooms were right here. Carly's over here, and then the other two were back there, so I had to walk past her room to get into my own.
Did you notice anything when you walked past her room on your way to bed?
Her work shoes were still out. I noticed that, and I knew that she had work early the next day, so that kind of stood out.
And what happened after you walked past her room? What did you do then?
Just to sleep.
So Friday, March 29th would be the next day, but technically those hours overlap. What time did you wake up?
I think around 10:30.
Was Samantha at the apartment when you woke up?
She was not.
Was her door still open?
Yes.
Did you notice anything out of the ordinary when you peeked in her room?
Nothing out of the ordinary, just I noticed that her shoes were still there, and I think her shift was starting soon after.
And where did Samantha work at the time?
Liberty Tap Room.
Did you reach out to anybody at Liberty Tap Room?
We did, yes. We contacted them and asked if she was there, and they said that she was not.
Was it unlike Samantha to miss work without calling in sick?
Absolutely.
Were you concerned at this point?
Yes.
What happened next?
Well, before that, I texted my roommates in a group chat, and I said something was kind of off, and we all came out into the living room and talked a little bit about the next steps, and from there, we decided to get in the car and go back to that Montgomery Street house.
Back to the same location you were at the night before.
Correct.
Did you see any sign of Samantha?
No.
Did you look anywhere else for her?
While we were there, we also contacted jail. We called the hospital. We called just a bunch of locations. We thought that if she wasn't home, there's a potential she might be.
And did you find her?
We did not.
What happened after you left that location? South Ott and Montgomery. Where'd you go?
Yeah, we went back to the hub, and I think that's when we contacted the police. We kind of did our own little search in before that, because we thought that there was a 24-hour rule before you could file a missing persons report. So we were kind of just doing our own search in the meantime.
Did an officer come out and take the report?
Yeah, the officer informed us that that wasn't the case and came and spoke with all of us.
Did that officer come to the hub to speak with you guys?
Yep.
What happened after the officer left?
When the officer left, I think we just kept searching. I know we went back to that house at one point. We also broke into Sammy's laptop and looked through her emails, and that's where we found a Uber report that her ride had been canceled by the driver.
Beg your pardon, indulgence, sir. If I showed you a photo of that canceled receipt, would you recognize it?
Yep.
I'm approaching the witness with what's been marked as State's Exhibit 2 for ID purposes.
Oh,
Do you recognize that?
I do.
What is that?
The Uber report that we pulled up on her laptop.
Your Honor, at this time, the state moves to enter into evidence what's been previously marked for ID purposes as State's Exhibit 2.
Said defense.
No objection, Your Honor.
Submitted, no objection.
Thank you, Your Honor. After you saw the receipt, what happened next?
I think at that point Greg was there. We might have gone back to that house again. We visited a few times that day, and then we went downtown to do our own searching. As Greg said, we first went to Breakers and looked there. It's on the corner. There's a lot of cameras right around there. They didn't have any cameras for us to look at, so we went to Bird Dog where we were all last.
I'm going to back you up just a little bit.
Sure thing.
So first, did you mention, by location, do you mean South Out in Montgomery?
Yes.
Did you see any sign of Sammy there?
No.
And after that, where did you go next?
Then we went downtown and we looked at Breakers and didn't get anything there, so we went to Bird Dog.
Were you able to look at anything at Bird Dog?
Yes, we had some mutual friends at Bird Dog, so we were able to go upstairs and look at their video footage. We kind of had an idea of when the last time we communicated with her was. We went to that point and we saw everything.
Did you see Samantha on that video?
Did.
Did you see the black Impala on that video?
Did.
Do you recognize that car at all?
No.
After you left Bird Dog, where did you go?
I'm not entirely sure what we did next. I think we probably went back to the hub again.
Were you contacted at some point by officers from the Columbia Police Department?
Yes.
Did you go there to meet with them?
Yep.
Did they question you?
Yes.
Do you remember if you were questioned by yourself or were you questioned in a group?
I was questioned by myself.
And at the point when you were speaking with the investigators, did you know whether Samantha was alive or dead?
I did not.
And to be clear, the last time you spoke to or saw Samantha was at Bird Dog?
Correct.
And did you ever hear from Samantha again?
I did not.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Dr. Spence.
No questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. You may sit down. Call your next witness.
State calls Amanda Mosquitis.
Okay, who they just called to the stand is the parole. Am I got it right? Let me see. It is the parole officer. Yes, parole officer. Let's get it. Resume. Look at the low life. The dusty low life. See? Look at him. Dusty. Need chapstick. Did this to this girl. Circling around looking for a victim. Just looking for a victim. Unfortunately, she got into the car and she thought it was her Uber.
Amanda Mosquitis, Moskaitis.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I might have said it wrong. Patrol officer. I hope I have it right. Patrol officer. I apologize if I have it wrong, ladies and gentlemen. Just work with me. Resume.
Ms. Mosquitis, can you tell the jury where you currently work?
Yes, I'm a special agent with the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division.
And what do you do for SLED?
I'm the supervisor over SkyX.
And how long have you worked there?
About 2 months.
Where did you work previously?
The Columbia Police Department.
How long did you work for Columbia Police Department?
About 4.5 years.
And what was your position at Columbia?
I was a master patrol officer on the community response team prior to leaving.
And what did you do as a master patrol officer?
I would assist with taking calls for service through dispatch, listen to community complaints and handle them as such, attend community events, perform traffic stops.
All right, so I'm going to take you back to March of 2019. Was that your position back then?
No, ma'am, I was just a patrol officer at the time.
And what did you do as a patrol officer?
Very similar, to calls for service and conducted traffic stops, conduct property checks.
And in March 29th of 2019, did you receive a call?
Yes, ma'am.
And how did you become involved in this case?
I was dispatched to the call. I was probably about 1300 hours or 1 p.m. I believe.
And can you tell the jury where you went?
Yes, ma'am. So that day I was on patrol and I was dispatched to 1426 Main Street, which is located downtown.
And is that in Richland County?
Yes, ma'am. It's in the city of Columbia, County of Richland.
All right. And what did you do upon your arrival?
Upon arrival, I went upstairs into the apartment building and I made contact at the listed apartment, although at this time I cannot recall the specific apartment.
Do you remember who you spoke with?
I don't remember her name at this time.
Would seeing your report help refresh your memory?
Yes, ma'am.
May I first witness, Your Honor? I'll hand you something and ask you if you recognize it.
Yes.
And what is that?
This is the incident report that I wrote.
And does having that report help refresh your memory?
Yes.
So can you tell the jury, where did you go?
Yes, so I would have responded to 1426 Main Street, apartment 901, and made contact with Ms. Berry.
Okay. And did you know anything about the case prior to your arrival?
I would have only been going off of what dispatch had provided me prior to making contact with Ms. Berry, but at this time I cannot recall specifically what was provided to us.
All right. And based on the information that Ms. Berry provided, what did you do?
I made contact with an employee at the Liberty Tavern restaurant located within the Vista on Gervais Street to confirm whether or not Ms. Samantha had arrived at work or had called in to say that she wasn't coming to work.
And had she called in?
No, she had not.
Has she arrived at work?
She had not.
So what did you do after that?
After that, I also informed my corporal at the time as to the information that I was provided and that I had made contact with a manager at Liberty Tavern and informed my corporal as well that she had not showed up to work and she had not called in.
And did you speak with anyone else besides Ms. Berry?
Yeah, while I was in my patrol car, I had begun writing my report at the time and I made contact with her boyfriend, Mr. Gregory.
And without telling us exactly what he said, what information were you provided?
He was just able to provide further information from his point of view, from what he had experienced when he was attempting to remain in contact with Ms. Samantha.
Did you get any information about the last known whereabouts of Ms. Josephson?
I did. He was able to provide information in regards to where he was able to last track her, and that came back within another part of the city, which we at the time considered South Region, which encompasses the 5 Points area and just outside the 5 Points area, such as Rosewood and Shandon.
Does it also encompass Montgomery Avenue and South Lot?
It does, yes.
And is that in Richland County?
It is.
And were any of them able to give you the last known whereabouts of Samantha physically, where they last saw her?
The last known location that I was provided was in 5 Points outside of Bird Dog.
And is that in Richland County?
Yes, it is.
Were you able to speak to her parents?
I did speak with her parents that day as well, only over the phone though at that time.
And at that time, did they know her location?
They did not.
So based on this information of no one knowing where she was, what happened?
Based off of the circumstances and the information I was provided, I informed my corporal of all the information that I had, informed him that I was completing a missing person report, and the information that he was given was then passed up through to investigations.
And was anything done in terms of letting people know that she was missing?
Yes, ma'am. While I was still on the call, I did ask Ms. Teagan if she had any pictures of Samantha that we would be able to provide to our investigators. It is standard when completing a missing person report to try and ask for pictures. It helps identify her within a BOLO, which is a be on the lookout, and all of that information was submitted to our investigator.
So, and you said a BOLO is a be on the lookout?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that normal procedure when something or someone is missing?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 4 and ask if you recognize this.
Yes, I do.
And what is that?
This is the BOLO that was issued for Ms. Samantha Josephson.
And is that a fair and accurate copy of what was sent out back in March 29th, 2019?
Yes, ma'am.
This time, Your Honor, I ask to introduce State's Exhibit number 4 into evidence. I would object, Your Honor.
All right. Offered an objection. I haven't seen it. And what's the basis for the objection?
Hearsay.
And who generated this flyer again?
Who created this information?
It would have been the lead investigator, and I believe the investigator's name is on the BOLO.
And is it kept in the normal course of your business?
Yes, it would have been emailed to our city-issued email address.
Submitted over objection.
Thank you, Your Honor. So is this the be on the lookout flyer that was given to the public?
Yes, ma'am, I believe so.
Was it also given to Columbia Police Department?
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
No questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. You may step down. next witness.
State call Marcus Williams.
My name is.
If I'm correct, this is a Uber driver who's getting ready to take the stand. Let's hear what he has to say. I think he's basically going to talk about, job of being an Uber driver, but I don't know. Well, let's just watch it. We'll find out. Resume.
Mr. Marcus Williams.
Good afternoon, Mr. Williams.
How you doing?
Yeah. Well, thank you. And I just need to make sure you speak up so the entire jury can hear you.
Okay.
How old are you, sir?
I'm 49,
And where are you from?
Columbia, South Carolina.
Did you go to school here?
Yeah, I went to W.J. King.
All right, and you got family here in town?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you married?
Yes, sir.
All right, what kind of work have you done through your career?
Well, I worked for the city of Columbia for the last 10 years until I got hurt, and that's how I became an Uber driver.
Okay. So after working for the city, you had some type of work type injury? You said?
Yes, sir.
All right, and you became an Uber driver. What does becoming an Uber driver entail? What did you have to do to become an Uber driver?
Well, you have to send your license, registration, and a copy of your insurance, and a copy of your car,
What kind of car?
a Dodge Charger.
Okay, okay.
You send all that in, and then it takes like, I think, 42 or 72 hours for them to approve you, do a background check and all that.
Okay. And so once you submit it, like you said, your license, your insurance, copy of your car, at that point you can be approved?
Yes, sir.
Were you approved?
Yes, sir.
All right. And explain to the jury, tell the jury again what kind of car you were driving at the
I
time?
was driving a 2011 Dodge Charger,
What color was it?
charcoal gray.
And so about how long had you been an Uber driver before the incident that we're talking here, so which is March of 2019?
I think a couple months, about 3 or 4 months, I think.
All right. Was there kind of a process that you would go through as an Uber driver if you got a call?
Yeah, when you get a call, it'll come up with who you have to pick up and where the destination you have to go to.
Okay. So you pointed you were holding your hand up. So kind of explain that process. If a call comes through, where does the call come to?
Like if I'm riding, the phone will ring, it just get a little ring, and then you'll see it. It'll come to my phone, and then it'll tell you what destination, where your client that you have to pick up.
All right. So if somebody wanted to order an Uber, I guess that's what you say. Somebody wants to order an Uber. They go into an app of some sort?
Yeah, they go to an Uber app, and once they go on the app, it shows them the car, the person, your ratings, and all that.
Okay. And when you say ratings, tell us what you mean by that.
Like the comments from other people saying like your car was clean, very good driver, some stuff like that.
Okay. Did you have ratings?
Yes, sir.
What were your ratings?
All my ratings was good. If you look on my app, I had a 5-star. Car kept clean. I always get tips.
All right. And so somebody would order that Uber. The call would come through. You'd get a notice that the person was trying to reach a driver.
Yes, sir.
And so would their information come to you?
Yes, sir.
What information would you receive?
I would just see the name and the destination where I have to pick them up at.
Okay. And would your information go to that person?
Yes, sir.
What information about you would go to that person?
My picture, the color of the car, and yeah, that's it.
Okay. Now, if we were to focus a little bit more to March of 2019, March 29th, actually, 2019, do you remember getting a call, a particular call or a series of calls?
Yes, sir.
Tell us what you remember about those calls.
I used to work the 5 Points area down there. I worked the 5 Points area with the college kids.
Okay.
And I was already on the call, and I got the call to go pick the young lady up.
Okay. And when you say the young lady, you're referring to Ms. Josephson?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, yes, sir. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. The voice does it. So you received this call to pick up Ms. Josephson. What did you do next?
Every time I receive a call, I always call the client to let them know I'm on the way or I'm outside or something like that.
Okay.
But when I received the call, I headed towards Hard and Divine, I think. And I called her while I was on the way there, but she never answered the phone, so I circled around the block. I always give them like about 5 or 10 minutes because, they be here and there. They don't really be at the spot where they're supposed to be.
Okay.
So I rode around for a minute. I called her again. Nobody answered the phone. And then once you get to your destination, after so many minutes, it'll come up as cancel your ride if your rider didn't show up.
Okay.
And so when I was riding, I waited. The cancel thing showed up. I think I circled like 2 or 3 times.
Okay.
But I never got in contact with her, never saw her. So he said, cancel your ride. And I just hit cancel.
All right. Now, I want to and thank you for that. I want to go back to just a couple things you said. You said that sometimes the person is not where they're supposed to be.
Yes, sir.
Can you explain what you mean by that?
Like I say, they might tell you to pick them up at, the destination might be Bird Dog, but they might be across the street at the little store they have right there on the corner.
Okay.
So that's why I always call, because a lot of them don't ever be at the spot you're supposed to. So I just call them, let them know I'm in the area, let them know where I'm at, so they can meet me with it.
Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And so are they able to kind of pinpoint their location based on the Uber app?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay. And so in this instance, you received the call. You went to the 5 Points area, and as you got to that area, based on your normal procedure, you made the call to Ms. Josephson?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you said there was not a response?
No, sir.
All right.
Oh, so this was supposed to be the original Uber driver, the real one. But this sleazeball right here came along. Wow. Okay, resume.
And so you said you circled for a moment?
Yes, sir.
Still no response. And so this cancel feature happens. All right, what happened when that cancel feature happened here? Explain that. I want to make sure that.
After you get to the destination, the client has like, I think 5 or I don't know exactly how many minutes to get in the car. And once that time limit goes, the cancel thing will come up and says your ride ain't short, cancel your ride.
And so this ride was canceled?
Yes, sir.
All right, what did you do next?
I think I went on by, I don't know if I got another call or I just went on by my business.
Okay. Did you ever pick up Samantha Josephson that night?
No, sir.
To your knowledge, did you ever lay eyes on her?
No, sir.
Did she ever approach your vehicle, try to get into your vehicle?
No, sir.
All right. Was there a point in time when you learned that there had been some type of happening with Samantha Josephson?
Yes, sir. I think, I don't know if it was the next day or the day after. My brother-in-law is a lieutenant at the city.
Okay, let me say, you can't tell me what a person said to you, but you can tell me what you did as a result of conversations.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I got a phone call after I heard they said what happened to Samantha. They called me, the city police called me, asked me would I come down there. I volunteered to come down there.
Okay, so you received a call from the City of Columbia Police?
Yes, sir.
They asked you to come down to the department. Did they tell you what? Well, what did you do as a result of the call?
I went down there.
Okay.
They told me why.
Okay.
And I went down there.
And what did you do when you got there?
They investigated me and then they asked me for would I swab, can he swab my mouth? And I told them, yeah, I volunteered to do it.
Okay, and the swabbing in your mouth, was that, to your knowledge, a DNA sample?
I guess, yes, sir.
Okay, and so you voluntarily did that?
Yes, sir.
Why is that?
Because I had nothing to hide. I was just doing the Uber job.
Okay. After you gave that swab and talked to the City of Columbia, what happened after that? What, if anything, happened after that?
No, they just let me go and told me they'll call me when they need me.
Okay. Mr. Court's indulgence. All right. All right, well, thank you for your time, sir. That's all the questions I have. Please answer any questions the defense may have.
Side of the defense.
Please report, Your Honor.
Yes.
Mr. Attorney.
How you doing?
I'm good. Just briefly, you said that you went down to headquarters voluntarily,
Yes, ma'am. They called me.
and you just said you did that because you didn't have anything to do with anything.
Yes, ma'am.
You sat down and talked to the investigators.
Yes, ma'am.
You said that they investigated you. You said that they took your DNA swab.
Yes, ma'am.
You gave it to them.
Yes, ma'am.
And they told you that they wanted to talk to you about this rideshare situation that has literally nothing to do with you.
Yes, ma'am.
It has nothing to do with Uber, right? As far as you know.
Yeah.
Okay. Begging the court's indulgence. Thank you, sir. I have nothing further.
Further questions?
No other questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. You may step down. Let me call your next witness.
State call is Andrew Yee.
My name is Andrew Yee. Last name is spelled Y-I.
Mr. Yee, good afternoon. How old are you?
I just turned 40.
And where are you from?
A little bit in Ari Brat. But I've been living in Columbia, South Carolina since 2000. Lived in upstate New York before that. Lived in Kansas. Lived in Germany. Was born in Colorado. So kind of all over.
Do you currently reside in Columbia, South Carolina?
Yes.
And where do you work?
The Bird Dog. I'm the general manager there.
And what is Bird Dog?
It's a restaurant bar.
How long have you worked there?
Since 2013.
So you were employed by Bird Dog in March of 2019?
Yes.
And around that time, do you recall anyone contacting you regarding an investigation?
Yes.
Did that investigation involve Samantha Josephson?
Yes.
And what specifically were you asked to do?
For the video, and stuff, of the evening and stuff.
When you say video, what do you mean by that?
Our surveillance cameras that we have outside and stuff.
And where's that camera located?
The one they were particularly interested in was the one on the, I guess if you're facing the building, it would be on the left side, facing towards, down towards Green Street.
Does that video footage show from the front door?
Yeah, it's in the top, I guess, if you're facing the building, it'd be the top left of the building. And it faces out into the parking spots and the doorway.
And did you provide a copy of that footage to officers?
Yes.
Beg your court's indulgence, Your Honor. Your Honor, I'm approaching the witness with what's been marked as State's Exhibit 3. Do you recognize what I just handed you?
Yes.
And what is that?
This is a DVD copy of the video of that evening.
And have you had a chance to review the contents of that disc?
Yes.
Are there any identifying marks on that disc?
Yes, my signature is on here.
And do the contents of the disc fairly and accurately represent the footage from Bird Dog's security camera on March 29th of 2019?
Yes.
At this time, Your Honor, State moves to enter what's been previously marked as State's Exhibit 3 into evidence.
State's defense, it's admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All exhibits, the court requires that you provide the court copies of those exhibits. I cannot see through the back of that TV. With regard to all exhibits, counsel should provide the court copies so that I can follow the evidence. Yes, sir.
Your Honor, permission to publish to the jury?
You may.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Yee, what are we looking at here?
This is the footage from the camera on the left side of the building that overlooks the doorway and the parking spots.
And is this the camera that we're referencing here with
Yes.
regards to the security footage?
Yes.
And what is the date of that timestamp up there?
It's 3/29/2019 at 2 o'clock in the morning. Or I can't see the exact time, what, 2:06 or 2:08?
March 29th of
Yeah,
2019?
March 29, 2019, yes.
Can I see through this?
I apologize, Your Honor. Mr. Yee, so as far as the footage goes, it goes on from here until some other time that day?
Yeah, it continues, and until like you can see her on her phone and stuff. But-
Your Honor, no further questions for this witness at this time.
Cross-examination.
Sir, I have no questions for this witness.
All right, thank you. You may step down. Yes. Everyone, let's stand for a moment, everyone. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm told that those are the witnesses for today. We're going to resume at 9:30 tomorrow morning. 9:30 tomorrow morning. Please remember that you're not to discuss.
Video footage for this morning.
Okay.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to show day 2 of the trial of this Dusty Lowlife. Let's get it.
Mr. Goldberg and Ms. Pinnock.
Wanted us to provide you with copies of things. I can give you copies now of every.
Now is better than later, always. Good, look at my computer bag.
What is this Dusty writing? What are you writing? These type of monsters, they kill me. What do they think they doing? Oh well. That's why they found you guilty. All right, let's get it. I believe it's starting now.
And to the media, I'm working on an order that is going to lay down a few more guidelines regarding media coverage, and I'll have that available later today.
I just have this part on 1.25 a little bit faster until they get ready to start. No, I'm sorry, 1.5. I'm sorry if I said it wrong, 1.5.
All right, thank you. Good morning. Hey, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, day number 3. I neglected to mention to you all yesterday as part of the initial orientation that I will be appointing one of you to serve as the foreperson of the jury later in the process, and that person will have the responsibility of being the spokesperson for the jury, presiding over the jury deliberations, and completing the verdict form at the end of the trial. And so I'll be studying you all very closely and appointing one of you to serve as the foreperson. With respect to overnight or since leaving the courtroom, have any of you been exposed to any media or anyone making contact or being in contact with you that might affect your ability to be a fair and impartial juror? If so, raise your hand. No hands are raised. I take it then that you are abiding by the court's instruction, which is essential. And thank you very much. State, next witness, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please, the court. The state calls Ander Lee.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony about this case will be the truth and whole truth and nothing but the truth and help you God? Yes, ma'am. Please have a seat. State your full name for the record.
Ander Sullivan Lee.
Mr. Lee, good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Lee, please tell the story a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and who you are.
All right, let me check. This person that's on the stand, Andrew Lee, is the person that found the victim's body. Let's hear what he has to say. Let's get it.
Well, I'm originally from Turbeville. I now reside outside of Lake City, and I was the turkey hunter who found the body.
What part of South Carolina is the Turbeville, Lake City area? Where is that in relation to Columbia?
It's about an hour and a half away from here,
Okay.
south.
South? Okay, so is it near any major cities or anything like that?
Kind of, it's about 30 minutes from Florence and 30 minutes from Sumter.
Okay, all right. And how long have you lived in that area?
My whole life.
All right. How old are you?
25.
Okay. And I want to turn your attention to March the 29th of 2019. What were you doing that day?
We were turkey hunting.
When you say we, who were you with?
Edward, Ryan, Knowlton.
Okay. And where were you turkey hunting?
We were at the time, I think that morning we started out in Turbeville, and then we ended up that afternoon in New Zion.
New Zion, okay. Had you previously hunted in those locations before?
Yes, the land in New Zion is his family's land, so we hunt there quite a bit.
It's Mr. Knowlton, your friend Mr. Knowlton's land?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When you say you hunted there quite a bit, what do you mean by that?
I mean, we deer hunt, we bird hunt, turkey hunt there, just somewhere, it's close to his house, so somewhere easy for us to access, being close to his house.
Okay. And you said you first went to an area in Turbeville to hunt?
Yeah.
And did you find anything that morning?
No.
Okay. How long were you out there?
We started late that morning, and we stayed till probably lunch or a little bit after.
And then,
no success.
okay. So then you decided, let's go look somewhere else.
Yeah.
And is that when you headed back down towards New Zion?
Yes.
Okay. So about what time did you get to the New Zion area?
It was, I want to say probably 1:30, 2 o'clock. We checked some other places.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll bring the map around. Try and help you get oriented. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, now we are here in Columbia on this first one, so I'm gonna all right. So that is the New Zion area, is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right, now, and you said it's about 30 minutes or so from Sumter?
Yes, sir.
That's over here, correct? And the Turbyville area that you were referring to in relation to New Zion is where?
It's, on that map, it would be up towards the top, just to the north,
Up in here?
a little bit down.
Right in here?
Yeah,
Okay. About how far away is that area, the Turbyville area, from the New Zion area?
it's a 10-minute drive.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you to describe the area in New Zion where you guys went. Do you remember what road you were hunting off of?
It was Black Bottom Road.
Black Bottom Road. And is this Black Bottom Road here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We'll zoom in a little more. Right here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What type of road is Black Bottom Road?
I mean, it's just a dirt road. It's more the county or the state maintains it, grades it.
All right. And where does Mr. Knowlton live, your friend?
He lives off the, it would be on the right side of the stream at the end of the dirt road, kind of a lane. Yeah, right in there.
Where the kind of red colored fields are?
Yeah, then you see the driveway.
That's the driveway to Mr. Knowlton's house?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so is that the direction that y'all came in from?
Yes, sir. I believe we stopped at his house and got some drinks and then proceeded.
Okay. And did you eventually come down Black Bottom Road?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now describe for us, if you will, with this kind of zoomed in area of where you guys were going, where you drove, and where you went from down there.
So we turned off Black Bottom Road and went down that, I guess it's like a little farm road.
Is that here?
Yes, sir. Kind of goes back in there, there's some fields and.
Is that an actual road?
It's kind of more like a lane, kind of like farmers use it and people hunt.
Like a farmer's access road of sorts?
Yes.
Okay, and that's the one here,
Yes, sir.
and this is Black Bottom Road.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you said you turned in off Black Bottom. You actually turned here?
Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead.
And you can kind of see there's a, it's hard to see on there, there's a fire break road.
Is
Kind of see the line. Yes,
this
sir.
here, kind of break in the trees?
Yes, sir.
What's a fire break?
Just when they burn the woods, they take a bulldozer and kind of plow a path to keep the fire from getting out of control and getting on other properties.
Okay, all right, so go ahead. You said you parked where?
Parked right past it and.
Down here?
Yes, sir. And I
Okay.
took a pair of binoculars and I walked down it and scanned the field you can see when you're zoomed out at the end of it, to see if there was any turkeys.
Did you see any?
No, sir.
Okay. How long did you walk around over there looking?
Probably 5 or 10 minutes. I walked probably halfway down it and scanned.
Okay. As you were walking here from the access road down the fire break trail, what, if anything, did you observe while you were walking out looking for turkeys?
Well, I was walking down. I didn't observe anything. It was on my way back. So when, I guess I was just looking through the woods and something caught my eye to the left.
Over in this area?
Yes, sir.
All right.
And I saw something I wasn't sure what it was. So I stopped and I kept looking. And then I guess the more I looked at it, the more it started looking like a body. That's when I called Ryan down there and he walked down the fire break to me. And he was like, we were kind of both in disbelief.
Objections overruled.
Go ahead.
And then,
You said you were in disbelief?
yeah, I guess we didn't expect to see something like that, turkey hunting especially, out in the middle of nowhere like that. And so I took a couple steps to get a better viewpoint because there were trees and stuff. And that's when we decided we needed to call somebody. We weren't sure.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
You said there were trees and stuff. Can you kind of describe the area between the fire break trail and where you saw, like, is it an open area, like a field, or is it wooded, or what's it
It's
like?
wooded. It's kind of, it's not very thick woods, but there's a bunch of smaller trees in there, and there was like an uprooted tree nearby. So I was kind of trying to get a better vantage point.
Okay. You said a moment ago that this area was, I believe you said the middle of nowhere. Why would you describe it as that?
Because it's not somewhere you just end up there. It's just farmland and woods. No, there's really nothing in New Zion or, no reason you would just end up there.
Where is the nearest store, to your knowledge, from where you guys were here in found the body, as I zoom back out a ways?
So it'll be right there where the pin is for New Zion.
Okay.
It's right there at the crossroads.
So all this area here, this big broad area with the different colored parcels of land, what is all of that around that area?
Just farmland and woods.
There's some residences there?
Yes, sir.
Obviously including Mr. Knowlton's family, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, I'm sorry to interrupt your your story there, I wanted to just get some clarification on those things. So you were saying that once you and Mr. Knowlton saw what he thought was the body, you said you took a few steps a little bit closer?
Yes, sir, just to verify that's what it was.
About how close did you get?
Probably from me to you.
Okay. And at that point, what did you do?
Well, we weren't sure how to call in where we were at, so we knew Mr. Bubba lived nearby, so we called
Who's Mr. Butler?
Mr. Bubba Morris. He works for DNR. He lives,
Is that Department of Natural Resources?
yes, sir.
Okay.
And he's very familiar with the area. And I think first we had to call Ryan's dad to get his number. And then we called him back there, and he was back there within probably 10 minutes.
All right. Without going into what Mr. Knowlton really said while he was there, once he was there, what did you all do while he was there?
We just sat and waited on the law enforcement to get there.
Okay. Did you get any closer to her body?
No, sir.
And where, can you describe on here on the map, again, Black Bottom Road and Farmers Access Road, where was, well, how'd y'all get there? Did you walk down Black Bottom, did you drive down?
We drove down right past the fire break.
So you drove down the access road?
Yes, sir.
Or you
We
drove
stopped
down-
right there.
Okay. And that was in whose truck?
Ryan's.
Okay. And when you, after Mr. Butler got there, did you leave? Did you drive out? What did you do?
No, we left our truck right there until law enforcement got there and cleared us to leave.
Okay. So when they got there, did they ask you some questions?
Yes, sir. They got all our information and stuff like that.
Did you ultimately meet with law enforcement again to talk about this?
Yes, sir. The next day.
Okay. And they took a statement from you about what you saw and what you heard and all that?
Yes, sir.
All right. You said you hung out there all the time?
Yes, sir.
And I say out there, like specifically this area?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When you say all the time, what do you mean by that?
I mean, me and Ryan are together a good bit on our days off, and we both share the same hobby. So, it's either there, some of his family's land like out there, either the land I can hunt, fish.
Okay. When you are in this area, do you see a lot of random traffic come through there?
No, sir, never.
When you do see people come through there, are they people that you know generally?
Most of the time, yes, sir.
Are most of those folks generally locals?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever seen any trash or beer cans or cigarette butts or the like specifically in this area?
Yes, sir.
And of the times that you go out there and hunt, the many times that you described it, how often do you see stuff like that?
I mean, off the main dirt road, you see it quite a bit.
So you say off Black Bottom, when you're on the access road, it's quite a bit?
Yes, sir. I guess you got people, kids driving through that got hold of some beer or cigarettes or whatever, and they don't want to ride up and down main roads, or, they don't want to leave them in their truck to get called by their parents. You have people riding four-wheelers and stuff that go through there at night.
So this is kind of a place where nobody would know where they were drinking, right?
Yes, sir.
I see. So you said you lived in this area your whole life. Do you know the defendant, Mr. Rowland?
I knew him from school.
Okay.
He was a few years older than me in school.
All right. Did you guys spend time together, socialize, did you have classes together, anything like that?
We never had any classes together or anything.
Okay. So is it fair to say you kind of knew of him?
Yes, sir.
Did you ever hang out or anything?
Not that I recall, no, sir.
Okay. What school was that?
East Clarendon.
East Clarendon? Of all the times that you've gone hunting, how many other times have you come across something like this?
No, never.
All right, thank you. Those are all my questions. Thank you.
By the defense.
How are you doing?
Good, about you?
Well, my name is Robert Clemenger. Along with Hispanic Investigator, I help represent Mr. Rowland. So you said that, where do you work, Mr. Lee?
Work at Newport Steel in
Newport
Berkeley.
Steel. And what do you do there?
I'm a second helper at the furnace.
Okay. And that's close to New Zion?
No, it's outside of Mount Pleasant, a town called Hugie.
Okay. So you said you woke up to go turkey hunting with Mr. Knowlton, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Y'all woke up a little late though?
Yeah.
And y'all went up to Turbyville and came back and had lunch?
Yeah.
Okay. So you stated you got to Black Bottom after lunch, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you saw what you believed to be a turkey?
Yes, sir. Well, in the back fields back there, yes, sir.
Okay, and were you looking through binoculars when you saw that?
No, we were just we were easing by the fire break,
Right about here?
Yeah, and you can see down, it's a straight shot, so you can see the fields. And I thought, I saw what could have been turkey down there. That's when I walked further down the fire break with the binoculars.
Okay. On your way there, you said you grabbed some drinks?
Yeah.
Were the beers?
No, this was middle of the day.
Okay. You know, so glad to have fun in the middle of the day. Did you happen to leave those drinks behind, or did you take those with you?
No, they would have been in the truck.
Okay, just want to clarify that. So when you came across the body, you got a little spooked, is that correct?
Oh, yeah.
Sure. And you called your friend, Mr. Knowlton, to come check it out? Just confirm that it might be...
No, Mr. Knowlton was with me. We called Mr. Bubba.
Mr. Bubba, and that's Mr. Norris?
Yeah, Morris.
Morris.
Yeah, Ryan was already with me. And I guess I called him a little bit closer.
Just to check it out?
Yeah, down the fire break.
Okay, and just a minute ago, you told Deputy Solicitor Goldberg that you didn't get close to the body.
Yeah, probably for me to use as close as I got.
Okay. So it's safe to say that you didn't touch the body?
Oh, no.
And you said it took Mr. Morris about 10 minutes to get there?
Yeah, something like that.
Did you see whether or not Mr. Knowlton touched the body?
He did not.
And were you aware of whether Mr. Morris touched the body?
I don't recall him touching the body either.
Did either of them get close to the body?
He got a little bit closer than we did, but I don't think he never touched it or anything.
Okay. And had it been raining at all that day or the day before?
Not that I recall.
Okay. Beg course indulgence. 1 moment. Mr. Lee, is Black Bottom a dirt road?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are there any potholes out there?
Yeah, there's I guess you wouldn't call it a pothole. It's a big, on one end of it, at the time, it was like if it rains a lot, it would get muddy.
Sure.
And from like trucks and tractors and stuff going through there, it was pretty washed out.
Okay. Apologize if you couldn't hear me. I just realized I still have my mask on. All right, and Mr. Lee, do you smoke cigarettes?
No.
So you didn't smoke any cigarettes that day?
No.
Mr. Knowlton, to your knowledge, smoked cigarettes?
No.
And he wasn't smoking cigarettes that day?
No.
How about Mr. Morris?
I do not think he smoked cigarettes. I'm not sure though.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lee. That's all my questions.
Anything further?
No, sir.
Thank you, sir. You may step down. You may call your next witness.
All right, this time the state calls Handley Bubba Morris.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Please have a seat, stick your full name for the record.
Henley O. Morris, Jr.
Mr. Morris, good morning.
Hey, how you, sir?
Good. You can pull your mask down while you're on stand if you're comfortable with that. All right. If you could just spell your name again for the court reporter.
Henley O. Morris, Jr.,
Thank you, sir. Mr. Morris, where are you employed?
South Carolina Department of Natural Resources,
How long have you been employed there?
26 years.
Can you describe for the jury what your duties have been and currently are with the department?
Well, we're tasked to take care of the natural resources. We work all type hunting, and summertime we work fishing all over the lakes, that kind of stuff.
When you say you work hunting and fishing, what does that mean? What are you looking for? What are you doing?
We go out and check hunters to make sure they got their all the hunting license and that kind of stuff.
Make sure they're compliant
That's
with state
right.
law? and things
Yes,
of
sir.
that nature?
Yes, sir.
There's some particular laws about what you can do with hunting and fishing.
That's
correct?
correct. Yes, sir.
Your job to make sure that they are doing it
Yes, sir.
correctly.
That's right.
Okay. You've been doing that 26 years?
Yes, sir.
All right. Where do you live generally?
I live on Knowlton Road, which on the end of Knowlton Road,
In what city? What town?
New Zion. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're going to look at this map here. We see,
It'll actually be Newman Branch Road.
okay, we see New Zion up there,
Mhm.
but where do you live? If you'd like to step down, you can, it'll help you, if the judge will allow. Another way to step down?
Well,
You can come on down. stand right over there.
Where's Newman Branch? I'm sure we saw it out here. Where is Renegade at? I should be right here.
Sir, Mr. Goldberg.
Yes, sir.
Is he speaking with you or himself?
He was just kind of talking to himself, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Or you're testifying to?
Yes, sir. Just make sure you can, why don't you go stand over there, and then keep your voice up so the court reporter can hear.
It should be right here. That's Renegade Trail. I can't tell.
Yes,
That's
sir.
glasses, but that's it. That's my house right there.
All right, let's zoom in a little bit. That's your house right there?
Yes, sir. That's it.
Okay, and this road right here is Renegade Trail, you said?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So that's your house, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that's Black Bottom Road?
That's right. Yes, sir.
All right, so while you're down here, can you tell the jury, where were you that day and what were you doing back on March 29th, 2019?
I actually just pulled up to my house, and my phone rang, and it was Paul Knowlton, and he asked if I was in the area, and I said, yeah, I'm actually at my house. He said, can you ride out Black Bottom, which is down here? And he said, my son and other boys turkey hunting, and they think they see a body in the wood, but they're not sure, and they really don't want to walk in there. They got a little scared. I said, well, I'll pull them out there. So anyway, I left my house and came down and hit Knowlton Road and went to where the egg is, and stepped out and walked in. It was probably 25 foot, and
All right,
it was a body.
slow down. So, Black Bottom Road, correct?
Yep,
And then this is like the farmer's access road?
that's right.
Okay.
Yes.
So when you drove down there, where did you go and where did you park?
I pulled right in behind, I pulled off the main road on this little secondary road.
Yes,
here.
sir.
And that's where we parked right there. The other truck, the hunters will park right in front of me on that road.
Okay, you parked right behind them
Yes,
on the
sir.
access road?
Yes.
Okay. When you got there, what did you do and what did you see?
Well, I stepped out and they said, whatever it is right there, you can see something in the bushes and you can tell it was closed. At that point, I walked in, I tried to stay away from the main trail, so I walked around just to confirm it was a body. And once I confirmed it was a body, I backed out and went in and called the sheriff for it.
Approximately how close did you get to the body?
Probably 25 foot, something like that, 25 feet.
Okay. Did you touch the body at all?
No, I could tell it in there.
Did you pick up anything, move anything?
No, sir.
All right. And please explain to the jury, why would you have called the sheriff's office at that time? How come you wouldn't have done anything?
Well, that's their field of expertise then. I just backed out and I held the scene. I secured the scene until they got to make sure what I was going to do.
All right. And so while you waited for them, what did you and the two boys do?
We just stood there. And I did ask them, I said, y'all didn't walk in there? And they said, no, they walked like two steps there, and once they seen what they thought was the body, they came right like that.
Okay. And then y'all waited for,
So then we don't trust partner.
when the sheriff's department arrived, did they talk to you?
Yeah.
And you told them what you saw and what you did?
Yes.
All right. And then were you also interviewed again by a state law enforcement division?
Yes.
And provided them with that information
Yes.
as well?
That's right.
All right. Let's back up a little bit here. So, this is, again, just for reference, that's Black Bottom Road, correct?
Yes.
And your house is here?
Yes.
Okay, and that's Renegade Trail?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know the Rowland family?
Yes.
Okay, how do you know the Rowland family?
They live right there across the road from me on Renegade Trail.
Right here?
Or they were living at that time. Yes, sir.
You must be louder, sir.
Try to keep your voice up. So I'll ask you again. How do you know the Rowland family?
They live across the highway from me, from where I live at.
And that's over here
Yes.
on Renegade Trail?
On Renegade Trail, yes.
Okay. And have you ever had occasion to speak to any?
Yes. Yeah.
How long have you lived there?
All my life, on the house beside it, so 60 years. I've been there 6 years within two houses of each other.
Okay. Approximately how far is it from your house to this area where the body was located?
Straight through the woods, I'd say maybe a mile.
Okay.
Something like that.
Is there access straight through there?
No, sir, not straight through. If you come up a little bit, there's a road, they'll cut you, protection to that main dirt road.
All right. Shifting back down to the area here, Black Bottom Road, and really the whole area. Can you describe for the jury what this area is like in terms of how familiar you are with it and what you do in that area as it pertains to your job?
It's not a few houses on it on one
Make sure
end.
you keep your voice up.
It's not a few houses on this road. It's on mainly just fields, fields that farmers plant and woods that hunters hunt. It's basically a cut through road from Newman Branch Road to Old Manor Road. Just cut through. Other than that, that's about it. We have trouble with young people going in there at night parking, and what I usually try to do is every so often, I'll go through there at night, I'm working nights, just to kind of run them off with it and make a mess of them.
So when you say young people parking, what do you mean by that generally?
They go up in there to drink a little bit, got the girlfriends with them, what young people do when you park.
This area off Black Bottom,
Yeah.
is that one of those areas?
Oh, yeah, yes, that's one of the spots right there.
Okay.
He said what young people do. All ages do the same thing, but resume.
And when you've seen people parking over here, is it on Black Bottom or is it on the access road?
It's on the access road. Usually they don't park on the main road. They pull right on that little access road. It's actually, when you pull on that little access road, it's kind of like a little pull-off. But, it's a little pull-off once you pull on the road. And that's mainly, just pull right upside the woods.
So have you spent a lot of time patrolling not only this specific road in this area, but kind of this area in general?
Yes, sir.
And without having to go into specifics, I mean, is that the only parking spot in the area?
No, sir. I mean, there are other spots.
All right. And when you've responded to some of these areas with kids and whatnot, what types of things do you find in those areas where they've parked?
Usually there'll be beer cans, cigarette butts, paper towels, and things like that.
All right. Trash bags?
No, now those people, we have people ride through this, like I say, it's a cut-through road. And you have families there that doesn't want to go to the trash dump, so they'll take bags of trash right to the end of the out. And like I say, every so often we ride through there and go through the bags, and it's got a name, I call them, make them come clean it up and ride them too. So,
Is this an area that you see a lot of random traffic from people who aren't from the area?
oh, no.
And why is that?
Well, most people don't know about it, I guess, but in 26 years, I've never stopped anybody in there that wasn't right there.
I'm sorry.
So are there any reason
Yes, sir.
people are talking to you as opposed to, well, you have a jury there, we have a court reporter here, that's who you should be talking to.
I'm sorry. If you can face them, that's okay. You were saying that in 26 years, I'm sorry, I'll ask you a question again. Is this an area where you see a lot of people who are not from the area in as you're patrolling?
No, in 26 years, as many people I've stopped out there, I've never stopped anybody. I didn't even know their families. They live somewhere in there.
And that's in regards to these kind of secluded areas,
That's right.
Black Bottom Road.
That's right, yeah.
You can have a seat in the witness stand. Thank you for stepping down. All right, sir. I appreciate it. Please answer any questions the defense has. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Ronnie. Please report. Mr. Morris, how are you doing? Good morning. Excuse me.
Thank you, sir.
Do you remember being interviewed by SLED agents, correct?
Yes.
That was about the day after, right? Sometime in the early afternoon?
Yes, a couple of days after.
Okay, and you just told the deputy solicitor and the jury that you're very familiar with the area. You've been patrolling for 26 years.
That's right.
Okay. And as soon as you got the call from Mr. Knowlton, after his son notified him, you went straight to the location, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you confirmed what the boy or what the young man thought was the body?
Yes, sir.
You told the deputy solicitor that you didn't get very close, correct?
No, sir.
And a little bit beyond that, you purposely avoided the trail, the main trail heading out as you saw the body, correct?
That's right, yes, sir.
And you notified the appropriate authorities, in this case, Clarendon Sheriff's Department, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And again, beyond just going beyond or avoiding the main trail purposely, you also stayed on the scene, correct?
Yes, I stayed on.
To kind of keep people from getting close.
That's right.
And you also told the deputy solicitor that in addition to staying away from the body, you also obviously did not touch the body.
No,
Is that
sir.
correct to conclude?
That's right, yes.
Thank the court's indulgence. All right, Mr. Morris, that'll be all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything further?
No, sir.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Marshall, you may step down. Call your next witness.
The state calls investigator Tommy Huckabee.
You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are giving is to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Will you promise to keep faith before those around?
My name is Thomas Huckabee with Clarendon County Sheriff's Office.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How long have you been employed with the Clarendon County Sheriff's Office?
Going on 5 years.
All right, and describe to the jury what your duties have been and are with the Sheriff's Office.
So when I came into the Sheriff's Office, I went into investigations. I spent 4 years in investigations, and then I moved into training. Now I'm overtraining.
You say you're overtraining, so what does that entail?
Just training our department, getting everybody ready to go to the academy and keeping up with our everyday training that everybody needs to stay on top of things.
When you were in investigations, what types of things did you do on a daily basis?
Investigate different crimes, anywhere from petty larceny to murders.
You said that's been for 5 years?
For
Have you
with
been
this,
in Clarendon?
yes.
All right. Where were you employed prior to that?
Manning City,
Manning City Police Department?
yes, sir.
How long were you there?
8 years.
What sort of things did you do during your time there?
With Manning City, I was patrol. I actually started my career at Manning City and worked my way up into patrol lieutenant, and then I went to the Clarendon County Sheriff's Office.
All right. I want to turn your attention to March 29th of 2019. Were you notified at some point that a body was located off Black Bottom Road in New Zion?
Yes.
All right. And as a result of being notified of that, what did you do?
I immediately responded to that area.
Okay. And when you drove in, did you come in from Black Bottom Road?
No, I came in off of Old Manning Road.
Okay. And you ended up coming down this dirt road here to get to the access road, is that
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
All right. Do you recall approximately where you parked your car when you got there?
On the main dirt road itself.
So not the access road?
No,
but Black
on the
Bottom?
dirt road itself, yes,
Okay.
sir.
And were there already other law enforcement vehicles there?
There was.
Where were they parked?
On the dirt road near where the curb's at. We had the curve back, yes, sir, back that way and then back to the right on that
And
road.
then over here?
Yes, sir.
Were there other officers from your department there?
Yes, sir.
Upon your arrival, what did you do at the scene?
I went over and looked at Miss Josephson's body laying there, and once we did that, I notified my proper chain of command that we need to get SLED involved because she didn't look like she needed to be there.
What other officers were there from your department when you arrived?
Lieutenant Barr at the time, I believe it was, or he might have been sergeant at the time. I can't recall everybody who might have been there.
Okay. To your knowledge, had any of the other members of the Clarendon County Sheriff's Office done anything with the body or the crime scene at that point in terms of processing or collecting evidence or anything of that nature?
No,
And is that unusual for them to have done nothing at that point?
no, it's not unusual
Why is that?
because they're to secure the scene and wait for investigations to get there.
Okay. And in this case, you did investigations.
Yes, sir.
At that point, you didn't know that the body was Samantha Josephson. Is that
At that
correct?
time, no, I did not.
You didn't know anything about it,
No.
other than a body was found.
Mhm.
So what would your ordinary protocol be in this type of situation, not knowing anything else?
With a situation like this, we would call SLED to come process the scene.
Okay, why would you call SLED as opposed to your agency?
SLED is highly more trained than we are. We don't get as many murders or fatalities like this, or at all. So they're more apt to be able to process it better than we are.
Is your, how large is the Clarendon County Sheriff's Office?
Right now, we're about 72 deputies.
Okay. And that covers all of Clarendon County?
Yes, sir.
And that includes road deputies and investigators and everything else?
Yes, sir.
All right. So you're just saying that their crime scene capabilities are a lot more advanced than your department, so you
Yes.
call in for help?
Yes.
All right. And as a result, nobody did anything with the scene at that point?
No, they did not.
All right. And so when you say you briefed command staff, who did you brief?
I would have talked to my captain at the time and let him know what was going on, and then he would go up from there.
Did you have an opportunity to observe the body yourself?
I did.
How close did you
5 foot?
get? Okay. Did you touch anything?
No.
All right. What were your observations of the body at that time?
There was a female body laying there bloody. Clothes were half, I'm not gonna say torn, but they were kind of half off, half on. One of the shoes was broken, flip-flop, sandal.
Did it appear to you as though an incident had occurred there or somewhere else?
No, it didn't appear that it happened there.
Okay, why was that?
There was no bloody drag marks, there was no blood spatter all over the place. There was no sign of a struggle in that immediate area.
So as a result of that, you said you notified SLED and they came out. What happened next? What did you do next?
I started when SLED come to process the scene, and then I had found out that Columbia had actually had a missing person. And I started looking. And I found a picture, and I went to my sheriff and said, "Sheriff, this is who we've got."
Why did you think that the photo you saw about the missing person was the body that was found?
Clothes, the description that was on the clothes, and then looking at the person on the picture.
And seeing what she was wearing, did it look like somebody that ordinarily would have been in this area of New Zion?
No, she looked very out of place right there.
All right. So you see the pictures, you look at her, and in your mind, you're thinking, this is the missing person.
Yeah.
What did you do as a result of that?
As far as, once I went to the sheriff and then I called Columbia.
Okay, who did you call?
Sergeant, I talked to Sergeant, I can't remember his last name, but
You
talked
just
to,
called up the CPD and said,
hey, I need y'all to send me something that, who this, because we think we have her here in Clarendon County.
okay, and what did they send you?
They sent me a flyer that they had done up as far as her.
Okay, was it a blow-up?
It would have been, yes.
Okay. State exhibit number 4?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so once you saw that, did you then go compare that to what you were looking at?
Yes, sir.
And concluded that it's the same person?
Yes, sir.
Once you made that conclusion, did that change things a little bit for you in terms of the nature of the investigation?
SLED was still coming in and investigating that part of it.
Okay. So if, I understand what you're saying before, that regardless, SLED's going to do the crime scene.
Yes.
So let's say that it was an incident where you had information that the incident occurred or the person was from this area. Would your office have investigated the matter?
No, because she was taken from Columbia, we did SLED because they had multi-jurisdictional, they went and they just took it all.
I got you. So had it just been something that occurred here, y'all would have done it, but because based on the information you had, it was from Columbia, you're out and SLED's in. Is that fair?
Yes.
All right. So did your office then proceed with any lead investigation from that point forward?
No.
And that would have gone to state law enforcement?
Yes, sir.
All right. Did you have an opportunity to assist them in some various capacities, though, during the initial stage?
Just look at this dusty lowlife. Just sit there like that. Trying to act all innocent when you know what you did to this woman. That's why the jury found you guilty. Ooh, ladies and gentlemen, just hang in there. We're going to watch the rest of this trial. And I'm going to definitely, hopefully I'll find the body cam. And I think there's also a video too I should be showing too when he got caught at the ATM when he took a card and everything. Look at him. Mommy and Daddy laid down and they had Satan Jr. And that's him. Another one running on the loose. But you're not running on the loose no more because you're in jail. Prison. You're done. Resume.
Stages of the investigation.
I would ride around with SLED as they were interviewing people in that immediate area
And why would you have rode around with them in that immediate area?
because I know the roads better than they would.
Okay. And when you say the immediate area, I'm going to back this out a little bit. What area are you describing? I mean, are you talking about just down here near the access road, or are y'all expanding, branching out towards New Zion?
Branching out towards New Zion, Newman Branch Road, Old Man Road. Old Man Road's to your left if you're looking at the screen there, and then Newman Branch is the next road up at the crossroads.
Here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so are there some houses along here?
There is.
Including Mr. Morris, as we heard. And so you were assisting state law enforcement in terms of getting to these places and helping them make contact with these folks, is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right. And were you present for some of those conversations with some of the residents in that area?
Some of them.
Okay. And without going into the particulars of what those folks told you, I'll just ask you this. Were you able to garner any leads about who may have been involved in this based on those conversations?
No.
Okay. Did you assist SLED in trying to obtain any video in the area?
I did.
All right. Are there, in this area that we're talking about right now, Black Bottom, Old Man, and Newman Branch, this kind of circle here, are there any businesses in that area? Or is that all residential?
It's all residential.
And farmland?
And farmland, yes,
So
sir.
where do you have to go to get to the closest business?
You have to keep going up Old Man Road to New Zion, where there's a New Zion mini mart.
Is that up this way?
Yes, sir. Right there where your pin is at is where New Zion mini mart would be.
Closest business?
Yes, sir.
And did you all respond to that location?
Yes, sir.
And did you have an opportunity to view some surveillance video from that location?
Yes, sir.
What were you looking for?
We're looking for a dark colored vehicle at night.
And that was based off the information you received from Columbia?
Yes, sir.
Did you see anything on that video?
No, sir.
Any dark colored vehicles?
None of you could tell anything of what they were.
I understand. Would you agree with me that this area, we'll call it the Black Bottom Road area, the Farmers Access Road, that's a pretty secluded area?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you familiar with a lot of random traffic that goes through there?
I'm familiar with hearing that people go through there all the time at night doing a cut through or maybe even partying in that area.
Partying in that area? Locals?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, sir. That's all the questions that I have.
Hey, good morning.
Yeah, just, the only question I would have for you, you indicated that you reached out to the Columbia Police Department, and that would have been the day of March 29th.
Yes,
And do you remember about what time that was when you reached out to them?
it was dark.
It was dark.
I can't give you the exact time.
And I was a little confused on the timeline. So what time did you actually get to the scene?
A little bit after 3 o'clock, or between 3 and 4, I believe it was.
Okay. And you indicated there were already officers on scene. Other investigators?
Now, there was, myself and another investigator showed up at the same time, but I don't recall any other investigators already there.
Would it be like a responding officer, a deputy with the Sheriff's Department?
Yes.
Okay. And so you say you got there a little after 3, maybe 4 o'clock?
If I remember the time
Right,
correctly.
right. And you, at that point, reached out to SLED?
At that point, I reached out to my command staff, my superior, to let him know what we got.
Okay. And at what point do you reach out to SLED?
My command would reach out to SLED.
Okay. So you reach out to command, based on the information you provided to them, they reach out to SLED?
Yes.
And would that have been nearly after you arrived on scene?
It wouldn't have been long.
Okay. And at what point do you find the picture regarding from Columbia Police Department regarding the bolo?
It was later on. It was dark when I got the picture.
So you call them asking for that information?
Yes.
And then you talk to someone and notify them that you think that she's there?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I have no further questions.
Is that right?
No, sir.
Thank you, sir. Let me step down.
Thank you.
Let's call your next witness.
He calls Jeffrey Kraft.
Just like review previous convictions.
Regarding the defense testimony.
Regarding the witness, Officer Kraft's testimony, witness testimony.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll have you go to the jury room for a few minutes. Good time to take a break. Who is that? Who's Kraft? Is that an open door?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Pillinger, tell me about it.
Your Honor.
Mr. Pillinger made the objection.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes,
Yes,
Your Honor.
sir.
As we argued pre-trial regarding Officer Kraft's testimony and the reasonable suspicion of the bolo, we would just simply like to renew that objection to his testimony coming in, and that reasonable suspicion does not exist for the traffic stop, and thus creating an issue with any evidence derived therefrom.
Any response by the state?
Your Honor, we would rely on the arguments made in pre-trial and ask that you stick to the same ruling.
The court previously heard and ruled on this motion. Your objection is noted. We'll take about 2 or 3 minutes and then we'll press on.
Your Honor, may I proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of day 2. All right, so I'm going to record the next one. Well, I'm not going to do it right now. I'm going to end now. But the next one I'm going to be recording will be what? It'll be more of day 2. It'll be more of day 2, but that one's a little bit longer. So I'll save that one. And then after that one, you're going to get to hear the girlfriend or ex-girlfriend, when she takes a stand. Very interesting. Now that's when I first started watching it. That's when I first started watching it. And I was like, this man is sick. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of it for now. So stay tuned for some more of Donna Just Being Real. Make sure you hit the like, share the video out, and feel free to check out some of my past commentary. And like I said, share your thoughts and opinions in the comment section about this whole thing. What a shame. All right, everybody, stay tuned for some more of Donna Just Being Real.